Oh, hey, we're live.
We are live, yeah.
Yes, we're live, baby.
All
Because
right. So, hello, ladies and gentlemen.
hi,
Welcome to Perspectives.
that's it.
I
Perspectives.
am I am one half of the
Sorry, guys.
host, Littyyy Bro Flacco. This is our other host,
Yep,
Holden Stephan Roy.
that's me.
Say hi, Holden.
Hi, Holden.
There we go.
See, that can be funny. No, what's up,
Today,
everybody?
our special guest is La Madrina, the godmother of battle rap, New York City indie rap legend, Sara Kana.
All
Big
right.
facts.
Yes. I'm sorry, Flacco.
Yo, it's a,
Right.
Love that
So,
intro. Okay.
so listen, right?
What's
This
up?
show that we do, right? I started doing it with Holden because
Mhm.
I did the Littyyy Bros project, right? And the engineer on the Littyyy Bros project was the homie Merker Miyagi, Merker Studios
America.
in Montreal, right?
Nice.
And Merker is the type of engineer that like would fit in perfectly in New York City, right? Because he's got the attitude of like, I work with a lot of artists, but I'm not promoting your shit, fam. So like, he doesn't promote anybody's stuff that he works with, but he promoted our stuff. And in promoting our stuff, it caught Ho Ho over here. That's my friendly
I'm with
co-host, Holden. It caught
Really?
his
Ho ho?
attention,
it's
right? Ho
Holden,
Ho.
but that's what it is. If people want to call me ho ho and it works to my advantage, say what you guys say.
Just know I will never call you ho ho ho.
I'm alright with that.
Listen. So
Flacky over here wants to
it
call
caught
me
his
ho ho all he
attention.
wants.
It caught his attention, right? And he does reviews also, right, of albums. And so he checked out the music video that Merker shared. And then, it made him curious about the project. He checked it out. He did a review on us. And then he was like, yo, we should do an interview. And I was like, yeah, goddamn right, we should. Absolutely. And we did the interview. And after I did the interview, I was like, first off, I felt like I went to therapy. Like, I felt like, I was like, oh my God, this feels so good. And then I was like, typical hood nigga, right? I was immediately like, what do you do in the hood? As soon as you come up on some cool, ill shit, you're like, yo, I gotta put all the homies on this shit, bro. So I was like, yo, we should do a show together, son. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Bring the homies.
yeah, I know
Let me
how
bring the homies to
your
you.
mind works. I
Let me
know
bring
how
the-
that mind works.
Let me bring the homies to you. So I did that, and here we are. And like the show was originally called Bridge the Gap, but we decided that we should reformat things a little bit and change the name. And
Okay.
we are now here with our first live episode of Perspectives.
Yeah,
And you're technically speaking our first guest.
that's right.
Right?
I guess number one.
Which is kind of dope. Like the first guest on Bridge the Gap was Nunzio, and
Facts.
now the first guest on Perspectives is you. And I think it keeps like a certain tone with me and Holden together doing this because
Nice.
you're both significant to me and my story in particular. And I want it to stay that way. Like the people that get the top billing are the people closest to me. So
True.
Holden has his own opening question that he does,
Yeah,
right?
it's
It's
my-
now become the second question on the show. Because the first
Okay.
question that
I'm excited. This is fun.
the first
Go ahead.
question I want you to answer for people is
Excuse me.
what's your name and aliases and where are you from?
Right. You did warn me about these questions. You did. Because you so Dutch knows me. I'm very, very particular about my government name. But I have no problem in sharing this with you guys at this moment. It's a new day, it's new time. All right. So my full this is me. My name is Giselle Sara Kana Manguel. That is my name is Giselle. The whole entire world, from family to my blood related to Dutch to his mom to his family, all call me Gigi.
Gigi.
That's what my family calls me. So if you've been in my life for years, you call me G or you call me Gigi. Most of the time it's G. Everybody goes G. So when you see me with the G hat, not only am I supporting my brother Nems and his brand, is also in support of the fact that I'm a G. So I've born in New York, raised in the Bronx. Was born in St. Vincent's Hospital, which is no longer, and that was ironically in New York. And there's one in the village, ironically, funny how, you know. But yeah, it just came up in
Yo, we're
the
gonna.
era what they like to call
That's
the
perfect because that's what's about to
yeah.
happen. We're gonna talk about your come up in more detail than you're probably expecting at this moment. I, nah, for real. So for me, it's like I'm from Montreal, Quebec. So the first time we're doing these interviews with Nunzio, they're just saying shit, and they're like, "Nah, I mean, nah, I mean, nah." I'm like, "No, no, sir. I do
No,
not
I don't
know.
know
I
what you
don't know
mean.
what you mean by the least of any of what this is. Please, can you explain this with elaborate with more detail?" And we've done
Right.
this a lot now, so unfortunately I do know more what they mean, so I'm less good at being like, nah, I don't understand at all. So that's cool. But like really that's like why it's bridging gaps and stuff, to like walk through the lives of people who have longevity in this system, right? Or this game, because like, yo, how do you last that long? Yo, how many people come in and are gone in 4 years? So we walk through your life,
Yeah.
because the way that you lasted that long is really the result of your story, and alas creates the perspective that you can bring to the table, which enhances our perspectives. I'm trying that out. We never really did an intro at this before. Anyway,
That works. I like that. That works.
yeah. So on that note, though, we do have a token question. I just keep asking it because they ask everybody I talk to, regardless if it's with Flack or without, because that's, part of it. Like I do this without him too. So like, and everybody answers it so different, and it's so fascinating to me, and people fucking love it when they watch it. So I'm gonna run you through this question. It's a bit of a story. When it lands, you can take away in whatever direction you choose to take away, and we'll just kind of explore the life of Sara Kana a little bit more. But it all starts with my
Right.
girlfriend, and she's washing the dishes, and she got her phone playing that "I got a feeling," ooh. And so Black Eyed
Ooh,
Peas is just kind of
tonight's
bumping,
gonna be a good
and she's
night.
like just washing the dishes and doing her thing, and she's vibing out to this shit, and
Right.
I'm sitting there going, "Yo, that's
Feeling.
crazy, right?" Like, cause
Ooh.
all this time has passed in the world, and now this song, that's its role. It's exercise music, it's chores music, it's just this new thing. But I remember being like in my early 20s, drunk as fuck, trying to get laid, dancing around the club to that song. That's what it used to be back in the day. That was its purpose and its vibe and its energy once upon a time. And then 10 years goes by, and now its whole energy and vibe is chores music and exercise. So I was like, yo, that's crazy, right? Because like you have music, and over time its purpose and role, the very same song just kind of evolves and changes. So that's like nuts, because if you think about it, a lot of Cardi B's, a lot of things you're hearing today, all of that's going to be the chores music of the future generations that they watch their parents growing up listening to, etc., etc. And that's going to be wild just to think about it as a thought. But that means that like music kind of goes on like this little journey, right? So that means that for our musical journeys too, it kind of has a path and a trajectory and whatnot. And I noticed that when we talk about ourselves, even in interviews and everything, everybody kind of starts at like this like adolescent place when they develop their own identity and start picking their favorites, and that seems to be the earliest point of anything. But really it kind of starts like way before that, back before we have any control over the situation. Like I can remember being like 4 or 5 years old, and my dad has these like gray boxes, the amps and the fucking radio and the tape decks, and they're all attached to the speakers, and he would play these Led Zeppelin tapes.
Right.
And at like Christmas time there were these shitty techno Christmas song remix tapes we would play. And then like my mom's had like knockoff disco stuff. I don't remember much else from her side of it, but like just these different vibes that really just kind of played into a lot of my interest today and now, but also the technologies, but also all of it just kind of contributes to who we are across our journey. So I was hoping, Sara Kana, you could bring us back to when you were like as young as you can remember, 3, 4, 5 years old, and you could walk us a little bit of the soundscape of your existence.
Of
Oh
what
my.
of what your mommy and papa was playing.
Oh wow. This is so gonna reveal my age. Okay. So all right. We're gonna. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. So for me, um, my dad plays that heavy influence. When I was younger, he played. Oh my God, he played anything from the Treacherous Three, Sugar Hill Gang, to the soundtrack to the movie Tommy. Led Zeppelin, like you said. I'm talking about. I'm listening to Stevie Nicks, and then a little while later, I'm listening to Chirac. Um,
Ow.
it was Prince. It was knowing early Prince. You know what I'm saying? Early Prince when he had the wavy hair. You
I
know
was
what I'm
gonna say
saying?
that's
And the whole hamburger
before
meat.
Purple Rain, right?
Before Purple Rain. So I was exposed to so many different eclectic sounds in music, but for whatever reason, once I started to, gain a lot of my own personality, because I believe from the ages of 5 to when you hit 10, 11 years old, you start going into this your own little personality.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And mine's, for whatever reason, I just gravitated. I remember just being in 370 Brook Avenue in the mecca of like the South Bronx, and laying in bed one day and hearing kids and people on the outside saying word for word the words to 6 minutes Dougie Fresh on, 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 and they was outside and they were just doing it word for word for word. And I was like, oh my God, it was just so amazing. And
And
then
I can
the next day,
guarantee that there was out of everybody saying the word for word, there was probably somebody doing the beatbox, right?
they were all, everybody was doing their own, because back then you thought you was nice no matter what, right?
Wow.
So
Hold on, that's like really cool. This is the kind of stuff that, like, for somebody like me who was born in '87, growing up in Montreal, that never happened. There was not one time in my life that I can tell you, just randomly in the alleyway type thing, a bunch of people is banging out a tune like that and it's considered socially acceptable. In fact, I realized, like, even the boom boxes and shit, none of that happened when I was young. None of it. It was
that,
already like quieted by then. So that's crazy to
well, I
hear.
can say that I was blessed to grow up in the mecca of hip hop, where it was born, the Bronx. You know what I mean? South Bronx per se. I lived literally a block away from People's Park, where Cool Herc used to just randomly show up and just start playing right there in the park. And then it was crazy because that very next day that I heard, Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick, and I run downstairs, and I was always itchy. I was always getting in trouble. I was always shit. So I run downstairs, and it's New York City Breakers. But I don't know they're New York City Breakers at the time because I'm a child. So I don't know it's New York City Breakers. And then I'm understanding there's this whole crew thing going on, right? Like, oh, there's a whole crew. But now I'm watching them dance. So I'm over here exposing my mind to those who spit, those back then rapping. They used the word rapping. It wasn't the word spitting, right? They used the word rapping. You know what I'm saying? And then dancing came into play. So I wanted to do both. I needed to do both. I accepted that I wanted to be like the best at like both of these things, right? And that's when I really was just like, wow, I didn't know it was hip hop. I just know I wanted to do it. You know what I'm saying? I just know whatever this was, it was amazing. And I think it wasn't until my family, got us out of the South Bronx and moved us to the North Bronx. That's and
Well,
and this
okay.
is right.
Can I just ask, what's the significance of that? Like, you're saying South Bronx,
So
North Bronx. I'm like, I mean, I guess there's a significance there, but I promise not everybody's gonna catch what that really means.
right. So okay, so we gotta do the Bronx for, okay, Dutch. You're gonna have to help me with this, because now it's like we gotta do Bronx for it's like almost Bronx for dummies. Like
Yes.
it's hard to explain. Like, so the Bronx has so many different. It could be its own little world, right?
Oh, you know
So
what? I got
you
you.
right there we go. I know what he's gonna do. I know exactly what he's gonna do. It's great
Awesome.
because I knew he was gonna do that, and it kind of segued because I knew he had something that he can use to help explain this
Amazing.
better. If
I'm
it was like a
excited.
PowerPoint, we would be killing a PowerPoint.
Oh shit! There's a map.
Boom,
Littyy's Villas.
boom. Right. Okay.
This is
So
the Bronx borough.
That's
right.
all the Bronx, or which is that all
Yes,
the New York?
All
that's the Bronx.
this from
Okay.
where you clearly see a line. All these lines are like the bus lines
Okay.
for the whole borough.
Okay.
There
And
you go.
it's pretty fucking the amount of neighborhoods between
That's all the
here
Bronx.
this is
Yes.
all the Bronx. All of this.
That is all of the
And the
Bronx.
amount of neighborhoods are uncalculable. Like I could read off to you what's here, right? That the city itself means, right? You got
But
Williamsburg.
show him
got
the difference, like the sections, like South Bronx and kind of like
yeah.
North.
Okay,
And
so like I mean, then this would be North Bronx, right? From like
So there's more
Fordham,
parks in North Bronx.
from Fordham. What?
There's more parks in North Bronx.
I mean, yeah, the biggest park is in the North Bronx, but then there's still parks in the South too. You know, it's just smaller. They get smaller, but they get more impactful with what they had happen at them.
Okay.
So like St. Anne's is down here, which is like a pretty impactful park to like hip hop history. And it's a small little park, you know, compared to like but don't get it twisted, like things happen up in Pelham Bay Park as well. But so yes, this is the North Bronx, and it's like from 180 above. Then the middle Bronx is like from 180 to like about 160, and then from 160 down, it's like all South Bronx. Really, it's Tremont down, I guess you could say. And then between Tremont and Fordham is like the middle section.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
right.
And then this is all the North Bronx, and then this is the South Bronx.
Now
But
there
the
was
amount,
at that time though.
hard for you to like. Even when you see the map, it's hard to really get an understanding for the amount until you get here and you see the like drastic amount of like people and how much like space it is, how long it takes you to get downtown Manhattan, and the amount of buildings that you pass. And then when you pass those buildings, you start like if you're like me, Holden, which I think we have that similarity, where like we think about these numbers, right? And like if you start thinking about, I start breaking down to you the numbers of apartments that are in every building, and then you start thinking about, you know, the incalculable, which is how many people are in each apartment, which is really incalculable in New York City. Because one of those buildings, you know, like on one side you got the 4-bedroom apartments, and then the 3-bedroom apartments, then you got 1-bedroom apartment. That also doesn't matter, because you'll still have families, immigrant families, that'll pack in like 20 people into a 1-bedroom apartment. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of these incalculable amounts of people and numbers that it's just really like drastic.
Yeah, plus you can't rely on the censuses, because that's what the population numbers come from. So how many people are just not on there? So I do think a lot about that.
Census are super inaccurate, because like you got most people, Sarah will tell you, like in our neighborhoods when we grow up, like you don't fill out the census. You look at it suspiciously, like what?
No, I just have it on my mind because like Google's like telling me, bro, you have 2 days left to fill out your census, and I'm like, oh, thanks Google for reminding me. I guess that's kind of like serious, but yeah. Anyhow, that's not that important. Are you still with us?
Sarah, you turned your camera off.
Yeah.
My bad, got you.
Cool. No, but that's really like nifty. So, okay, so you moved from the south to the north, and I guess that's just a different vibe then, is what I take from that.
At that time, so even though you did live in the Bronx, you still had lower and upper class. So at that time, you had the South Bronx where predominantly like you would have like your lower class trying to get to middle class, and then the North Bronx, you kind of see where the middle class go, right? So my family chose to move north side. It wasn't like for me, it's before Co-op was built. Co-op City in New York City, where Bay Plaza is located.
Okay, I don't know.
It's a major.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a major mall in the Bronx. So, long story short, you know, we thought it was gonna be all good, right? Get to North Bronx, you know. Actually, this is where Dutch's sister comes into play. and I go to school, and I'm in going to Michelangelo. You know what I'm saying?
In the North Bronx.
In the North Bronx, and you know, it's different. It's a lot
It's
different. That
very different.
Gun Hill's like little Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? So
Little
it's like Gun
Jamaica.
Hill down.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
That
So
well, that's the thing about the Bronx, right? Is that unlike other like Brooklyn and Queens, what they have is they have New York City's full of all races and nationalities, right? But then in Brooklyn and Queens in particular, you have pocket neighborhoods. So like your neighbor, this particular neighborhood will be predominantly Russian maybe or Eastern European of some sort. Then this
yeah, like
neighborhood
Little
will be
Italy,
mostly
like Little Italy.
Asians, Little Italy. You got these neighborhoods that these pockets. But in the Bronx, what you tend to have is that Littyyy bro lighter. Now I mean, but in the Bronx, what you tend to have is like these melting pot neighborhoods. That it's like maybe there's a predominant group, but it's still filled with people from all over.
Right.
So it's not like that predominant group really has the whole neighborhood. So like that area that she's talking about, it's not like
Right.
it's just Jamaicans. It's really like
Nah, that's more
all
like
sorts
what
of
that's what
like
Montreal's like. There's like pockets like that, but there's no like there's no like straight pocket. It's all like mixed, but there is
yeah,
like more
it's
concentrated
it's still
areas.
mixed.
But it's more like that building is really concentrated of one kind because that landlord was really cool with that ethnicity that came over here, so everybody lived there, moved in type things that happen here. But then like the next building
Yeah,
is somebody
exactly.
completely different. We're
That's
talking
how
about
it goes here too.
buildings, so like
Buildings, yeah.
neighborhoods tend to be really
But then
like
the next building is owned by a different
cosmopolitan.
guy who's gonna have a different group of people coming in and being the dominant race. Yeah, no, but so that's the point. And so the neighborhood she's talking about in the Bronx is in like one of a couple of heavy Jamaican population
Mm.
in that neighborhood. Co-op
Right, right, right.
City, Gun Hill Road is one, and then on the other side of the like more western part of the North Bronx,
Like
there's like Leary
223rd.
Avenue, the two line that's a lot of
All the
Jamaicans as well. But then
shots to
it doesn't
everybody
stop.
over there.
Shouts to all the Jamaicans in the Bronx, but it doesn't stop Jamaicans from existing in the South Bronx or any in the middle. Like it's just the Bronx is like that. It's a lot of people from all over the world just mixed in all the neighborhoods.
Right, right. And I felt like I was exposed to one side of hip hop and then I got exposed to a whole other side of hip hop. When I got to the north side of the Bronx is when I started to rap. Like I started to spit. And I was playing with it for a little bit and we was in junior high school and I remember it was like a guy versus girls thing and me and my little homies was at the table and it was, we was at the lunch table and he was banging on the tables. And I just started going off the top out of nowhere. I just decided, let me just go for it. And I was going off top and it kept going and it was fire and it kept on. And I was just like, when we got to eighth grade, right? They walked me, or we walked from, I think, what area is that? That's like the Barker, not Barker. That's like near Eastchester Road area, right? I walked all the way
North
down.
Bronx.
We walked all the way down to the Pelham Parkway area to Columbus High School. I'm an eighth grader.
That's a long walk. It's a
And
long
but
walk.
when you're a kid and you just discover weed, that's nothing.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
excited for
yeah.
that
Big
walk.
I'm like,
facts.
wait, how
You know
young
what
are
I'm saying?
how young is a kid that just discovered weed?
Eighth
Like
grade, she said. So
Okay,
like,
I was in like eighth grade. I was
okay,
in like
okay,
eighth grade and I was already exposed to a lot of different things
fair
already.
enough.
At that time in the 80s, early 90s, it was a little different. It was a little harder to kind of like, control the environment at that time. It was a little less I'm not gonna take away from it, but it was, I don't know, for me, it was the best time to grow up. But so we go to Columbus and I battle for the first time ever.
Uh,
You know what I'm saying? And I didn't know what battling. Like I knew about battles. I've seen people do it.
Yo, just before we get into your battling part, there's just a couple more things to talk
Yeah.
about because we do want to like explore this a
What's
little
up?
bit more. So you're
yeah,
young.
no, we're gonna talk about all that more.
Yeah, for real. So this is
Hmm.
great though. You're doing perfect. This is what the show is. We just like talk and then we go back and then we talk and then we go back and that's just the whole vibe, right? So like there's other stuff, right? You
I
said you
love
grew
it.
up in the inception of hip hop right next to Cool Herc. So does that mean you're a dancer when you're like 5?
Uh,
Are you into the dancing side of life?
yeah. funny that the dancing part took off before the rap part of me took off. The
Ooh.
dancing part, I was, yeah, because I knew it's what I wanted to do. And around, I believe it was like my 18th birthday. My cousin, who was my chaperone at that time, oh my God, I'm so exposing my age. At that time, Club Palladium was our big, like our parents in the 70s, they had Studio 54. But our generation ended up having like the Palladiums, the Wetlands, the Limelights, and things like that. And I went to the Palladium at 18 years old with my cousin. And I just remember going off because I was a child of watching the beat streets, the breakings. I was a child of watching the battles in the street and the b-boys getting busy. And I was a product of that. So as a child, you're like absorbing all of this shit. And I just couldn't wait to let it out. And we went to the club for the first time and I went the fuck off. Like I just went off and it got to a point where it's like a talent scout approached me and they had a show that they were doing on MTV called Club MTV. But my age was kind of hindering me being able to do that.
That's
You know
crazy.
what I'm saying? You're right. But at the same time, I'm going to a public school repertory, which was a summer youth employment program that we all had to do at one point. And I'm in this school and I'm meeting someone by the name of DCQ for the first time, who's Most Def's little brother, Yassine Bey.
What?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I end up in the environment of the beginning of Lyricist Lounge.
Okay. We're gonna
Wait,
get
So
to
hold on.
that.
All right.
We're gonna.
Wait,
Okay, we
wait,
gotta.
wait, wait,
We gotta
wait,
so yeah,
keep.
wait, wait,
I know I
wait.
got so many
No, I know.
layers, guys. I have
Yo,
a
we're
lot
gonna
of
run
layers.
through it.
There's
We're
so
gonna run through it. I'm telling you, that's how it is. We're gonna get it. This is
because
crazy.
It's
It's
a lot of
almost.
layers. There's a lot
No,
of
I mean I
layers.
love it. But like, so basically, well, you five, you're already
Yeah.
dancing. You getting into the dancing when you're like real young.
Oh yeah, I was already like dancing in my family
That's
parties
it.
and trying to be girl and all that shit in the circles in my family parties, all the family get-togethers. I'll get busy. You
I
know what I'm saying? And yeah,
because that's part of your
yeah.
culture growing up again. So then it ties into you leading into that, right? But
Right.
then you're already clocking all this experience when you're
Hmm.
like 5, 10, whatever, going through it. All right. So before we like completely run into high school and all the battling and all the things and everything, were you into drawing and all of the graphs and the visual sides when you were young too? Was that a fascination for you?
Collecting it, yes. Looking at it, yes. I sucked at trying it. Like drawing wise, I never really could draw.
Mm,
Instrument wise, I always played instruments, but even I never professionally was trained with an instrument. I was just trying to mimic what I heard, like things like that. So I tried to like learn all of them. But you know what I'm saying? When you don't have the resources, it wasn't like I said, it wasn't to junior high school when I got around the resources that I would mess around and try to mess with each and every instrument I can try to mess with. You know what I mean?
mm.
So definitely couldn't take the artistic view of drawing. I was never nice. The graph was like the shit though. And it kind of worked hand in hand for when you went to block parties or any party. You know what I'm saying? Like you were looking for the artwork. So I fell in love with the artwork. I just didn't, I could write. I just couldn't, like I said, I couldn't put up a piece. I couldn't throw up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
That's the only thing I couldn't do.
Nah, but it's cool. I got real fascinated with graph, right? Because before this whole journey of like talking to people, I was like, what's graffiti? And now it's like, yo, that's so cool. And now I'm seeing it all over. And because, you know, Montreal has a lot less people around. So there's a lot more graph appearing. And it's really like nifty to like hear about how people
Wow.
would go to parties and like link up like this and how ingratiated into the culture. Because I'm sure there's a lot more people like me that don't understand how interlinked the different elements are. And I know you care about that if you put that on that project where you like start listing off the elements that one time.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's real
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think it's real cool that like you actually are like
Yeah,
involved in
man.
it all, watching
It
it all
is.
And
and
just
play
so
out.
you know, Toronto, Melbourne, if you do a little background history, you guys have legendary artists, street artists, graffiti artists that come from those cities. Like if you do, there's a documentary. I don't know if it's on Hulu or Netflix, but there's a documentary that goes in depth in that. You should definitely check it out. And if I find it, I'll send it to you.
Oho keeps a little bit of a competitive spirit, but I'll tell you that right now off bat. Like he be looking at Toronto like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, Toronto. I'm like, yo, already. I'm like Montreal.
It's all about that Montreal.
Yo, we got fucking under pressure.
He's heavy Montreal.
No, but what I was saying, like I was saying, it's like that whole area though. Like what I was saying that to say that area.
But yo, big ups Toronto.
That whole like.
End of the day, like Toronto's still Canada. It is what it is. But I mean, at the end of the day, like it is
and you
cool.
guys are also not far from each other, like.
Yo, we're like 20-minute difference between New York.
Ohio type shit.
No, it's like Montreal to New York and Montreal to Toronto is a 20-minute drive difference. It's actually like that's how far we are from. Anyways,
that's what I'm saying.
I don't know if that's close or not. That seems far to me. I don't know if that's close. Maybe I just don't have good perspective on this subject. Anyway,
shout out to everybody saying hello in the chat.
Yeah,
it's a pretty nice drive. I think it's 10 or 12-hour drive. Yeah, I'm not sure. Somebody can look it up. I know from the Bronx it's like 18 hours.
That's a long
drive. No. It's not 18 hours, sis.
To Montreal or to
Is
Toronto?
I know it's a long drive. I know when
it's a long drive. It's a lengthy drive. I don't think it's 18. I think that it's like let's see. Let's just look it up.
Well, from Montreal to Toronto to New York City is like 10 and a half, 11 hours, but I don't know what it is to Toronto.
6 hours. It's a 6-hour drive. It's a 6-hour drive from New York to Montreal.
Oh, okay. So I was completely wrong.
Then,
but then you have the border, right? And that's where it takes fucking forever.
I was thinking New York.
Drive from New York City to Toronto is 8 hours. So it's
what up, King Me? I saw your shout out.
Nah, I think it's more the border that makes it take a long time, though. Because if it's a bad day at the border, that could take a minute to pass through it. Anyway, so yo, let's go back to the story of Sara Kana. So let's say you're growing up in this culture, all these things is happening, but when you're young still, it's happening around you, and like you said, you're absorbing from that like 5 to whatever age. But then that whatever age transitions, usually around some puberty times, we start to develop identities and really claiming things that are ours that we really like. Do you remember some of the earliest music that you fell in love with that was like yo shit that you just fucking loved more than the other stuff?
Oh yeah, it was funny because like Salt and Pepper, that first album Salt and Pepper had, I remember just obsessing and playing that album over and over. And it was always hip hop for me. But outside of hip hop, I was exposed to soundtrack, whether it be movie or Broadway soundtracks. So I was also a soundtrack head. And at that time, I'm sorry, I'm gonna say this now, and Dutch, you might agree with me. Back in the 80s to the 90s, soundtracks for movies were fire. You wanted to buy a soundtrack to a movie. Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Because they were just fire soundtracks.
My mom
you know what
those.
I mean? Excuse me, sorry. So for me, it was like I was obsessing over West Side Story and Grease at the same time listening to Salt and Pepper and discovering who NWA is and discovering like when we get, to Allenton Avenue in that area, I'm like discovering Video Music Box for the first time. You know what I'm saying? Right. So at that time, I was listening to hip hop, but I was also in soundtrack mode and going into musical mode because I was going to public school repertory at the time. You know what I mean? And I was learning drama. I was learning, how to put together choreography and learning choreography and things like that. I went to it was public school repertory. It was a part of summer youth employment program, but it was also a repertory company where you went to these classes and you got paid to go to them. And at the end of the summer, you put a big showcase, almost like the way Fame was in LaGuardia High School is. They put together the showcases at the end of like the year or the school year. And we were doing that for the end of the summer. And I was involved in these programs and these high school programs at the end of the summer, and ended up transferring, to the public school repertory school that was also called at the time City As School, which is a high school where you worked for your credits and you know just made sure you wrote an essay and did
Hold on.
your exams. You know what I mean? So
So if we just isolate this for a second, we have a young person involved in this situation where you were event coordinating and creating, as a youth, as a young person, an opportunity to throw events.
right.
And this person was given this opportunity as some program that was invested in by somebody or another. And this person goes on to found a battle rap league. I mean, I'm just saying.
No. Oh, you're talking about me.
I'm
Oh,
talking
I'm
about
sorry, you're
you.
talking about me. Oh, sorry guys.
That's
I got
you.
a little
That's
sorry,
you.
Pat.
That's
You know,
it's
you
who
know
I'm
how
describing. That's what happened, right? Because you just
yeah.
said that, and then you went on
Yeah,
to
that's
do
why I
Yeah,
was
that.
like
Sarah's like, wait, International P and Pen wasn't.
No, I'm talking
I was
about
like, yeah,
Sarah.
yeah.
Yo, Sarah Kana sounds like a legend to me so far.
Sarah
That's all
Kana.
I'm saying. Like, you're a legend. You're as legend
Thank
like
you.
anyone
Oh my
else.
God. Crazy. Thank
Yo,
you.
Godmother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Facts.
Thank
That's
you.
not a. It's not a little title. There's only like
Yeah, that's
one.
not a little title, and for
It's
it
a
to be
hard
like
title to have.
a well known, like it's not like it's a secret, like it's a well known thing, and like artists, like I hate name dropping, Sarah hates name dropping. Neither one of
Mhm.
us would ever be caught dead being like name dropping, like because it just looks thirsty and clout chasey, right? But like in retro, in perspective of like the fact that I'm like on a show and I'm doing a show that like is like in its
It's
basis
kind of
is
the point of
about
it.
describing the perspectives and people's lives. Like there's groups like Griselda and Boot Camp Click and just like legendary groups of all right, because like I just talked about two totally different eras in hip hop. One group is modern right now, and another group was from like the 90s, still surviving though, right? Because Young MA is signed to Boot Camp Click Records or Boot Camp Records, but like the
Mhm.
point is, regardless, it's two different eras, but like that's how far she spans, and all
Yo, I
those
was
people would
actually like,
acknowledge
just speaking of
that
Young
Sarah is
M.A.,
the godmother of
I was
battle rap.
listening to Young M.A. and I was listening to your project, and I'm like, yo, Young M.A. absolutely was inspired by Sara Kana. Like, there's no way that didn't happen. You can just hear it in the way that
Oh
Young
Yeah,
M.A.
wow,
raps.
yeah,
wow. I mean, I'm not sure if she even knows who I am, but if she does, or
But
I've
there's,
heard, I'll be honest, I've heard a lot of influence, and I'm flattered by it. But sometimes you sit there and you wonder, like, do they really? You know what I mean? You always have that wonder.
I mean, like, I'm certain everybody Googled lady battle raps. I don't know what the right word is. Female feels like a fucking weird word to use personally. I don't know. But, like, I don't know what the right word is, but battle
yeah. I
raps,
mean, it's definitely what people would have searched, right? Like what I
yeah.
was talking before. Before we started the show, right, Sarah, we
Mhm.
do where we play your music. We just talk about random things,
We do.
Sometimes we talk about the person that we're, listening to, and we were playing your music, and I was talking about Pop Pussy, and I was remembering a show once upon a time where you did a show that you did, right, in New
Oh,
York
the
City,
nightmare.
right, for a majority of LGBTQI plus crowd, and
Right,
how like it wasn't like the friendliest of reception, like it
right.
wasn't
I
like
was
where
like,
you would think that they would have like appreciated the fact, right? So it's just weird how things used to were like. I think if
yo,
you were to be performing for that crowd right
right
now,
now, oh my
that same
gosh, that
song,
song would go,
the reception would be like through the roof
yo,
from
people
that
would be
same group
like,
of people, right? Because
big
that's the
empowerment.
nuance here that I
Because
was
you're
trying to explain
literally
to
being
Holden,
like, I
was
like
like the
sex.
nuance.
Or I was like, damn, that's like bold. But you're not like, no, but you like flat out. And yo, I
Because
heard what,
at that time,
yo, sorry,
go
go on.
ahead, City. I'm
No,
sorry,
no, go
continue.
on. It's better if you say this, right?
But at that time, right, at that time, it was like, oh my God, it was being thrown at me. And I was in a relationship and I was faithful at the time, but it was like so being thrown at me. And I was like talking to Dutch, like, oh my God, it's like everywhere. What do we do? It's everywhere. And it was like from the moment I came out the closet to like, I think Dutch can agree with me because I guess if everybody doesn't know, Dutch been in my life since we were children, like literally six. He was six. I was like 14, 13, 14 years old. You know what I mean?
Aw.
But so he's seen all my transitions. He's
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
all of my transitions, like literally every transition.
yeah.
So I kind of like, how do I explain it? It's kind of like it's hard to explain. But anyway, going back to the original thing that I was saying, which I probably lost my train of thought because people keep texting me in the middle of this. Where was I? Hold on. Okay, guys, I don't know if you're watching this, but it kind of sucks when you text me in the middle of the interview while I'm trying to answer questions, guys.
This is amazing.
Thanks. Thanks. We're just
I
gonna put this
appreciate you,
on Do
Sara
Not
Kana. I
Disturb.
want to just say you are wonderful, and this conversation is riveting.
Yeah, nah, it's okay. Cause listen, this is what we do. So we like
Facts.
constantly bring the guests back to either we're steering the story in the direction that we want it to go for more information purposes, or we're
Mhm.
gonna right like keep on going in the direction that
Yo,
you're heading into, right?
it's also like it's
So but
Twitch, right? So like people's just like, yo, she's getting text messages. Yeah, it's not fake. I'm like, yeah, it's not fake. I just like
Yeah.
threw my joint across the
so
Don't
hold
throw the
on.
joint
So
across
all
the
right.
room.
Yeah, I found it. I was like,
Um
because you know what it is? I
I
get
was
scared the
talking
cat might eat
about
it. Anyway, go on.
I was talking about how different it would be, like the reception of you in this day and
Oh,
age
right, right,
performing
right, 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 right.
at that to that audience, right? And so I
So,
think that it's also the nuance of the crowd, right?
right,
Because it's a New York City group of
Mm,
LGBTQIA plus people of
and
color, right?
right, right,
So
right,
it's
right, right.
also even more nuanced. So it's not like you're at fucking West 4th Street with the white lesbian, transgender women, whatever cis whatever way of identifying
We was with
yourself.
all the AGs.
Right. Yeah, we was with all the AGs and they were black and Latin, which is like
Right.
and they're from New York City, which is like essentially probably like the roughest crowd you could go into in that, in that group of like in if you're performing for any LGBTQ people,
Right.
So like that's like the other thing. But even then, I think that where you had maybe a rougher time then with them accepting you because what you were rapping about was not out there. Like nobody was rapping about that.
nah.
Nobody was identifying themselves completely out and talking about it on record.
Hold on. This
On
is right
Right.
around like when Ellen DeGeneres was coming out and like Wanda Sykes was making campaigns like saying "Don't say
yeah,
gay" and all. That's like that era, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because that's what I
yeah.
remember. I was being asked not to use this
I
word no
think
more.
before it's a little before Wanda. It was a little before Wanda Sykes.
Okay.
Yeah.
A little before Wanda Sykes. But yeah, it was that era. And that was an experience because I remember telling Dutch because I remember they're like, yo, you want to go out the back and the front? And I was like, I'm going out the front. Like, because I was getting ice grill. I think some might have thought that I might have been white or Caucasian and because I'm fair skinned or whatever. So I still did the performance, and luckily I was surrounded by beautiful women that were able to divert attention. And while I was performing, they danced and they opened up the dance floor so everybody could try to dance. You know what I'm saying? And
Facts.
and that worked out. That worked out great. You know what I'm saying? But here I am coming in with all these dudes because most of my best friends were males. So it's like I had my girlfriend at the time, who shout out to my baby moms, and we were in there with our friends, and then it was like my guys, and it was like I didn't have a lot of female friends,
Right.
so it was a little difficult for me. I never really mixed with females. Dutch could tell you, I always got along with guys famously, and even if I argued with them or not, like I always got along with guys better than I got along with females. So here I am in a room full of females that are like me, who probably seem like me. All they friends are guys. So we all on the tough. We all have this tough on us right now. You know what I'm saying? So we in the tough world. We all got this tough on us. So I was like, you know what? Love me or hate me, we had fun. We walked out the front door while we was outside. People were showing love. You know what I'm saying? So it was a dope experience. It was an experience. It was my first experience dealing with like a whole room full of people that are just like, yeah, what this bitch gotta say? This little white skinned red bone bitch. Like, what she gotta say?
Right.
That was definitely the attitude of the crowd,
But
and
you
because I was there,
but,
you know.
but,
So
but
like,
then but
I'm
you said you
I'm
owned
telling
it.
you from like firsthand being there in the moment and seeing it, and like, you know, like I said, you know, like I definitely think that like where that crowd was like not so receptive then, and I think it's because of like also other things, right? So like that wasn't the temperature of like everybody else, and everybody else wasn't as comfortable with people being out, and it wasn't the wave for people to just be so openly out
And
and talking
I was
about their
very,
sexuality.
and,
And like
and I was
it
very
wasn't
vulgar
Sarah's
about it.
thing, it was everybody else's hangups. They like she was ahead of the curve. It's just everybody else's hangups was what made it that, you know, they didn't enjoy themselves, you know, where
Right.
they probably would absolutely enjoy themselves now.
Honestly, I
Yeah,
just
I
like
guess, you
listened to
know,
it and
that's
I
how it
was
goes.
like, if that shit popped like today, like just dropped brand new song, like that could go TikTok famous.
Yeah, it's funny because I see a lot of shit and I'm like, I try not to think, like, I try to have as humble as a thought as I can, but I might have been a little too early. I don't want to say ahead of my time, but I might have been a little too early. You know what I'm saying? With the timing of my vulgarity, because I'm very vulgar also in real life. So I translated that into, you know, if the song was an angry song, I translated. So I the characteristic and the personality of every song, I grasped onto the concept. I came up in an era where every song had a theme to it, and you
Mm.
had to play that characteristic. Nas was telling a story. Slick Rick was telling a story. Lauryn Hill was telling a story. Fugees was telling a
That's
story.
really
So there were
hold
stories
on.
involved.
So can we just stop there for a second? That's a hugely interesting thing, and I bring this up because I'm gonna go with middle class folk. Have this idea that keeping it real is
Right.
about the testimonials and biographies of who you are as a person. But what you're saying about this is it's almost about telling stories that you can tell properly. Is more of a different nature and a twist on that same idea that changes the nature of what you would put on wax. That is a hugely interesting insight.
I mean, when we heard children's story, we knew it wasn't a true story. It was just a relatable one. Because at the
Okay.
time, police brutality was in an all-time high in the 80s, especially in New York City. And there was shootings way before we got here. You understand? So these songs, we had a time within hip hop where we weren't afraid to be conscious. And by conscience, I mean we weren't afraid to say, fight the power. We weren't afraid to say this is protected by the red, the black, and the green with the keys, sissies. We weren't afraid. You know what I'm saying? And as generations turned within hip hop, it became different. It became you want to be more seen as someone tough and got a lot of
Mm.
money. Or
Mm.
we grasped onto Biggie because he came from the dirt to something. We grasped onto Nas because he went from the dirt to something. We grasped onto Jay because he went from the dirt to something. When you look at the whole young, not even Young Money, if you look at what Baby and them had created, that was from the ground up too. You know what I'm saying? But they come in where we have an influctuation of the drug dealer music. And people don't want it. They're not ready for that conversation, but we liked it because we related to it. You know what I'm saying? So hip hop and its evolution through time, you will also see the people's vibe in the music. Where are we at in here?
No, I hear what you're saying entirely. I relate a lot, like I relate to at least what you're saying. Maybe not the total experiences of it, but you
Yeah.
see these trends. I have noticed everything you're describing that happens. Like Master P would be another interesting one that could be used as an example of from the nothing, but like to a point of just like he's throwing money at people. Who doesn't want to be that guy? You know, like I want to be
So
that
it's
guy.
like they're telling their story. They're telling their story. Now they're used to having the money and they're telling their stories of, you know, how they're spending the money. Why did they eat up Cardi B? Because everybody loves a champion, someone that goes from nothing to something. You know what I'm saying? And she was realistic. and there were people that could relate to her. And the
Everybody
Bronx was
loves the
not
underdog story.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, you're deep, Sara
That story
Kana.
wins it, you know.
I like that.
Just I have common sense. That's all.
Nah, you have like really profound wisdom sense. That's not that common. I'm sorry. Um, so let's go back to this
Appreciate
the
you.
story of Sara Kana. So basically, now we're at the point your early influences. I guess you go to high school, and I believe you said that in high school you discovered battling by accident. So I guess we're at that part of it. But when did you even decide? How did you go to like I'm
Right.
gonna battle rap? Did you like? Are you already rapping? Are you already writing? Are you already freestyling?
No, I was learning how to write. I was learning how to write, but I would watch video music box and I would try to understand cadences on beats. I was trying to, I was listening to 98.7 Kiss FM before it became nothing now. I don't even know what it is right now. I was listening to Red Alert. I was listening to Chuck Chilla,
They again.
you know.
Sarah's saying what I said in mine, right? So that's the same station that played the "Been Around the World." Nah, yeah, yeah. I can't find my
So
baby. I
we
don't
had,
know when. I don't know
you
why.
know, yeah, there was MTV, but for the hood, we had video music box. You did. So we was watching video music box. I was running home from school just for video music box at 3:30. You know what I'm saying? And just looking at it and like, oh, I want to be in videos. And I remember I would call and I would be staying over Dutch's house, and Dutch was just discovering at that moment he loved hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And what he wanted to play and how he wanted to do it. You know what I'm saying? And it became a point where it's like I started doing the work. He was too young at the time though. At the moment when I started putting in as much work as I could, he was still too young for me to like get him into the clubs and the open mics and the battles and the ciphers. I couldn't really. It was only when it was like high school dances or like things I knew. As he got older, like I think it was like what once you hit like 18, right? I think once he hit like 18, I was like, all right, we're gonna fuck it, we're going, let's fuck it. I'm taking you to Limelight, or we're going to Wetlands, or we're going to, and it was
But
like,
that's
fuck it,
still
that's what we're doing. They'll
so
be all
that's still like way
right.
later on. So let's go back to you. How did
Yeah,
you get into battle rapping in high school?
right, right. Pothead moment.
No, it's all good.
So
It's wonderful because we're
I
talking
got, I
about
didn't,
young
I can't say
Flacky.
I got, I can't say I got thrown into it. It was almost like I did get thrown into it because once your high school homies get a whiff of the fact that you're nice, it's kind of like, yo, what's up? We're gonna go over here. Come on, they rapping over there. Come on, and they will push me in the cipher. A lot of my cousins also had a lot to do with that. You know what I mean? Like go ahead, don't worry about it. Spit, rap. You know what I'm saying? Rap, rap. And we like I said, we trooped it to Columbus High School, and I was getting ready to go into Truman High School at that moment, and I rapped, I battled this dude, and I just remember being mad scared. It was all these, I'm still little, so everybody was just towering over me, and I was just like, oh shit, like it almost felt like a fight when you that young and shit, and you never been experienced that shit. Like, damn, nigga, we ain't fighting. Like, why y'all on me? You know what I'm saying? But long story short, I won the battle. And then it started happening where I so obsessed with hip hop and the music industry and entertainment and dancing and being in videos and wanting to be in these videos that I started battling a little more. Dancing wise, I was battling, and I was just in the street battling. You know what I mean? And
Hold
it
up. So
wasn't
you're doing like the b-boy stuff battles, like legit, and meanwhile you're doing the rap battles.
well, now we're coming out of like the b-boy era into just dance era.
Can you
House music was
clarify
the
the
big thing.
difference, honestly? Like,
So hip hop and house music. All right. So the era of b-boying dominated the 90s and kind of like dominated the 70s, the end of the 70s era into the 80s era. Dominated the entire 80s era, but then phased out. But the only reason it phased out is because they were getting arrested. It started to be looked at as an illegal form of entertainment on the streets at that time. So it ended up phasing out, but dancing didn't stop. The clubs didn't stop. It just every time the music changed, house music ended up merging with hip hop. You know what I mean? Where we had the Jungle Brothers, girl, our house, you in my house now, my house. You know what I mean? Where that fusion of house hop, we had people doing house hop where it was rapping over these house beats, the techno beats. So you start seeing when we get into the 90s how hip hop and battle rap starts to make the evolution happen, where it comes out of just being in the parks and being, in these little house parties and and things like that, and it starts moving into these clubs and it starts moving into these places where you can go to. You know what I mean? The house party was still definitely the place you want to be, but you wanted to go to the tunnel, you wanted to go to the limelight, you wanted to go to these clubs, and you couldn't get in. You were either 18, 19. Sometimes at that time, you know what I mean? At that time it was a little different. But battling
fake IDs though took you a long way back then.
A fake ID took you a long way back then. That's a fact. But
depending on the crowd that you was with and shit.
Right. And battling was always happening. If it wasn't like me rapping, it was me dancing. If it wasn't me dancing, I was rapping. If I wasn't in the cypher, I was in the open mic. You know what I mean? And it just got to a point where I started getting, like, people were putting me on to different things that were happening, and I was gaining my little, I didn't know it. It was unbeknownst to me that I was gaining a popular name within the streets, because I was going to the Lyricist Lounge and doing the open mics and performing there at like at 18, 19, like I would say 18. You know what I'm saying? I was going, first when Fight Club first happened, like, you know what I mean? We never, it blew up because we didn't have that. New York kind of almost fell off a little, I would say, when it comes to that battle rap scene. There's a point in the New York history scene where battling went from the DJs, the dancers, the rappers, and the MCs, because the MCs were the people that were hosting. So they became, they kind of generated that level of competition, and that's where Easy Mo B and the Cool Mo D battle happens. That's the first battle ever created. You understand what I'm saying? So it kind of does its twist and turn throughout the year. And that's when Fight Club happened, it wasn't a big thing. Battle rap wasn't a big thing yet, right? It wasn't this big thing that everybody was doing. It was either you were doing a little competition at an open mic, and you might have battled, and it might have been on beat, right? It wasn't a cappella yet. I was doing bragging rights. I was doing bragging right battles. Shout out to them. That was in in Wetlands, which is no longer, it's on Hudson. Wetlands used to be on Hudson Street in New York City, which is no longer there. You know what I'm saying? But Wetlands has a history, not just for hip hop and rap, but for rock and alternative music as well. So
yeah,
we were
Wetlands
doing
is a big indie like spot from like I don't know what years. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Fresh. Actually, I'm gonna be right back for a quick second. I gotta use the washroom real quick. But if you wanna talk about it, it's cool. Hold it down. I
keep going.
Right back. Yeah.
Keep going. I'm right here.
But yeah, that was yeah. We went to Wetlands. We went to we weren't going to. Once that transition happened, I think you remember that, Dutch. Once that transition happened, it was kind of like people were just throwing little battles here and there on beat. And I think once we made that transition into that acapella, which I think, and people can say what they want, that came from the streets. That acapella, because we didn't have the beats outside. You know what I'm saying? So when I was battling outside, it was acapella. Whether it was my first battle,
because you couldn't,
or whatever.
There wasn't no fucking DJ with fucking walking with us from hood to hood when we was battling. Like, what the fuck?
Right.
We wasn't carrying a boombox with fucking beats on a tape so that you could play the best instrumental for the guy that. So now I'm going to be playing instrumentals for the guy that I'm going against because I was smart enough to bring a boombox with me? Fuck no, I'm not doing that. Fuck out of here. Who's doing that?
I gotta
all the battles
get my charger.
Absolutely. Yeah, none of the battles were on beat. in the streets. Everything was
Right, right.
acapella.
Everything was acapella, right?
Always.
So for
The
me,
camera.
yeah, no, hold on, give me a second. I was getting my charger because it's
Oh,
I don't want it to die on everybody.
Word.
My bad,
Yeah,
my
nah.
bad. So at that time, I think if you remember,
89 wetlands open. 89 and closed
so
in
look at that.
2001.
Look at that. We was going there for the whole 90s. We were there for the whole, you know what I mean?
The
For
whole
a lot of
90s, all of it.
events. We were
That
there
shit
for a lot
opened
of
up the year
events.
before the 90s hit, and it closed 2 years after the 90s left.
At the best time of hip hop's evolution. You know what I mean?
Nah,
When
New
people
York City
discovered.
in an ill location.
So, and you remember, I decided at that point, I think when everybody was like booking me for their battles, I was getting booked for like all these little odd little, battles. It was Lyricist Lounge and things like that. And then I don't know if you remember, in the middle of us doing that, I'm also running around with Hurricane G and Boot Camp
Yeah,
Quick.
no,
And
I remember that.
I'm running around with
I was there
like,
for that. Yeah,
I'm running
you had
around with
Hurricane
like,
G and
right,
yeah,
right.
no, that's what I was saying. Boot camp. I had said that earlier though about like your
I was
name
like, I
being
was running around with
synonymous
everybody.
with boot camp, Tommy.
And it was funny because at that time too, I was going up to 88 hip hop. So one of the major molding of my battle rap and in the early times of me transitioning out of the whole high school and the street battles into going to 88 hip hop at like maybe 19, 20, hitting that age and going to 88 hip hop and battling Penn, who I didn't even know from a hole in the wall. I just went with like my little ex-boyfriend because I was doing promotions for like EMI and all of these little.
A little bit of
Yeah.
description. You just said Penn like randomly, like that's like for everybody in the audience who like doesn't know
Poison Penn.
who Penn is, who a random Penn is. They're like, oh, Penn. Oh, okay.
The legendary Poison
Sean
Penn
Penn?
around 18.
Yeah, shut up.
I might have been, was it 17?
Shout out Poison Penn.
17, 18. Was it like 17, 18? I can't remember what it was, but he was my first battle on the very first online podcast.
You battled him?
We didn't know it as a podcast then. I battled Penn.
Wow.
And he's been in my life ever since then.
So Penn did
he was in my life ever since then.
So like he did the show with us.
They've done a lot together.
So like I understand how significant
I know.
Penn is. So to hear that you're like doing this battle with him on a podcast back in the day, that's like big histories. That's so cool.
Podcasts exist and shit.
It wasn't even called a podcast. They were calling them internet radio shows.
Wow, that's
internet radio shows. They weren't called podcasts. They were internet radio shows.
So you were involved ultimately in helping create what we're ultimately doing today whilst battling Poison Penn.
We were getting there. Because what came with Poison Penn and the whole time, Apani B. Fly MC and Jean Grey are also in the mix of this, of me, growing and moving into the direction of getting into what I would say the hip hop underground scene in New York City that thrived and created that movement in the street and things like that. So I was around the whole. It's hard to explain, but Dutch could tell you, like, it just migrated the energy that we all, myself, Poison Penn, Jean Grey, Apani B. Fly, Breeze Ever Flowing,
Mr. Len,
the whole Stronghold, Mr. Len, oh my God, the list goes on.
Mr. Len from Company Flow, which is LP's first group.
Pumpkinhead, I can't forget Pumpkinhead because he plays a major part, But these are people that I grew up with. I grew up in the hip hop movement of New York City with these people. These individuals became my hip hop family. If you would have told me Poison Penn and Pumpkinhead back then, if Dutch would have came up and was like, yo, I have a vision. And this vision is you guys are going to be innovators of something big for battle rap. we would have looked at him and be like, first of all, you're like 18, go over there. So you know what I'm saying? So
These are big
you know,
facts. These are big facts.
but
These are
That's funny.
hardcore facts.
That is
I would have got
hilarious.
shooed away. I was definitely the little bro, but this is what I was explaining to you, Holden, when I was, doing my interview. Like, these are the people that I came up under. So it's just like, I'm privileged. I'm different than most, Like when
yeah, but I want to
when I
make
was
something
17,
clear.
18, I'm partying with Lyric, Sara Kana, Jean Grey, Mr. Len from Company Flow. Pumpkinhead comes in.
It's so cool. Like Company
Poison
Flow is so
Pens with
cool.
him.
Okay, like Jean Grey is so cool. I don't think you
Those are
understand
my
how
heart.
cool I think these people are.
No,
Just in
I
general.
I know they're cool.
All this is. I know how cool it is. I'm the
I will
motherfucker.
say
I'm the one that lived through
the
it.
one
I know
thing,
how cool it
the
was.
one thing I do want to make clear, not just when it comes. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. The one thing I do want to make clear is those individuals played a heavy part in molding me as a rap artist. You know what I'm saying? Apani and Jean Grey and you know what I'm saying, Pen and PH. These are people that helped me become a better artist. You know what I mean? And for me, it's like for Dutch, when it came to him and when it came to me battling and going through all that, and it's not me saying that because we're on the show, whatever. I think he'll agree with this. We weren't crazy about our siblings. Like, you know what I mean? We weren't crazy. My sister wasn't born yet, so shout out to Joe. You weren't born yet, so this doesn't include you. So we weren't crazy. And for me, being the oldest, you know what I mean, by like what was it, like 3-4 years, maybe 5 years older than you.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was like, nah, I'm gonna take him under my wing then because he wants to rap, and I'm doing it. So
Yeah,
and keep him out of trouble. What's the worst that can happen? Y'all gonna either be mad or at least he's with his other older sister. You know what I mean? I always knew he was gonna get in trouble going to these little
yeah.
things. I
was gonna cut school and fuck up shit regardless of if they were around and gave me a spot to be at or not. So like it was blessed the times that they were around and like.
So I guess
fucking Sarah would be like, yeah, come through. Slide through, and I'd slide through, and I'd fucking try to rap, and they'd be like, all right, you gotta relax.
But I think I took him to maybe, what was it, your first club? Was Limelight definitely. Your first club? Or was it 40 Flavors?
I think I had did like Barrage or something. Like I did something in like junior high, like on some like.
But that was the teenage dances.
Teenage club.
Yeah, those are the teenage clubs.
But it was still a club.
But like I took you to, I took you to like.
Club, I think it was I can't even remember. It was so many fucking clubs.
I think it was 40
probably took me. Like if it wasn't you, then it was. Yeah, no, it was probably you.
I think it was 40 Flavors at Limelight because I remember
40 Flavors. You guys used to be in there all the time, and y'all definitely had me in there all the regular. Like I would go in like it was no problem. Like they treated me like I was a grown adult. And it was like, I'm like 16, 17, bro.
What's crazy is like that you're saying like sneak into the club at 18 shit.
I would never snitch on you.
And I'm like, you have to sneak into the club.
He really didn't
18,
have to sneak in. He just had to walk in with
us.
us.
No, yeah, I was just walking in with them. I was walking in with Gene and Sarah.
It's like,
it was just like, that's it.
We're just allowed to go to the club at 18. So it's like big different, right?
Yeah, word. No, that's lit. We were definitely not allowed. It was 21 and older.
Bro, like,
to drink out there,
are like,
out here,
I'm like, why is he saying this about 18? And it took like a few seconds to really think about the fact that it's 21 over there. Yeah,
it's 21 and older to drink.
Fair enough. 17, fair enough. Okay, I get that. 17 is still there, but like it's easier to get in at 17 here than to compare against 21.
Yeah, anyway. It's lit definitely in Canada. Y'all can
give me 18. One moment.
You talking about, taking me to like my first and like 40 Flavors being one of them. And I was going to relate the fact that like Jean was like essentially not far from there was. She no longer lives there. Don't go to the Chelsea Hotel looking for
Right. Oh my God, we put a whole shit on the map.
I only mentioned it because she doesn't live there anymore. Don't be a psychopath people online, okay? Fucking crazies. But that building was like an artist. That was like an artist building that like a lot of people, like a lot of artists stayed there, and that's like that shows like the how gentrification and artistry used to happen in like those areas.
Facts. Known facts right there. But so while you were, in the little ho-ho's room, Um, I was talking about I was talking about how everything transitioned right into us doing Fight Club. You know what I'm saying? So now we arrive
So
at
what's
me
Fight
battling
Club?
Penn. So I ended up finding out about Fight Club. I was at Fat Beach chilling one time, and sometimes you would be on 8th Street doing a cipher if you was in that area at that time. You was on 8th Street if you was near Fight Club. If you was near Fat Beach, you might have seen Percy P up front, or you might be up front just spitting. You know what I'm saying? Or you be upstairs ciphering or something. And we was at Fat Beach one time, and a good friend of mine by the name is DJ Amari. Shout out to her. She's dope. Make sure you follow her. Was talking to me about Fight Club and how Remy and what's her name was about to do I guess a second battle, because the first battle had already happened. You know what I'm saying? So they was going to battle a second time. The second battle is what the whole world got to hear. The second battle from Remy versus Luck was what everybody got to hear. But when that hits the airwaves, I'm finding out about Fight Club. So I talked to Pumpkinhead about it, and I'm talking to I'm talking to Dutch about it. Like now it's in a secret location. It's an invite only. And at the time with Fight Club, Rigo Morales, who was the A&R of Shady Records, was running Fight Club, and International P was in fact the host. And it was just different. It was at a different location than when Dutch starts doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I get the invite basically. And when I show up, I get treated with love. Like Rigo Morales is like, yo, lyrics in the building. So now I'm nervous as fuck. Because I'm like, yeah, I never played before. But Luck and them is already on the radio getting love over the battles. And Nems had introduced himself to me. It was the first time I met Nems, my first time in Fight Club is when I met Nems. And rest in peace to my brother T Boogie. He drove me to my first Fight Club. You know what I'm saying? And it was dope. It was an amazing experience. And I started going back every Monday. But at that time, when the Luck and Remy battle happened, we had that influx of Lauryn Hill, right? And Lauryn Hill was killing it as a female rapper. We loved her. We wanted more of Lauryn Hill. What people don't like to discuss is when Lauryn Hill happened, right? And when this Remy versus Lady Luck happened, and everybody was concentrating on their respective careers, and Lauryn no longer wanted to do music because she wanted to raise her family, the door closed for females. There was like a door just shut, closed. Like nobody was able to break through.
That's a big fact. That's a big fact.
Felt like
I mean,
these situations took it with it. You know what I'm saying? At some point, not that they meant to do that, not like that's their fault. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, in that time for the industry and for a lot of people, it shut the door. And big so facts. when Fight Club, it's hard. It's like a stigmata that I feel like female hip hop has. You know what I'm saying? That still happens to this day. I don't care what nobody says.
I mean, essentially, like I was gonna say that, like like after that wave of successful women in hip hop, of like Lauren and Little Kim and all these, like before, like that between them and like the climax of that to like Nicki Minaj, there was like a big gap. I remember it. Like there were no women in rap. Like Lady Luck and you were essentially and Jean. Like I remember at that point, that was when Jay had gotten the presidency at Def Jam, and like the big debate was like, was he gonna sign Lady Sovereign or was he gonna sign Jean Grey? And he went with fucking Lady Sovereign.
I was like, that's it. The only person I know from like Lady Hip Hop at that time is Lady Sovereign. And I remember her hitting Montreal, and like she had a couple of videos that came out, and she did a remix with somebody famous and whatnot. But if I really, really, really think about it, there's not much coming from that era that is ladies that is being pushed to me across. Because like we didn't have, I mean, we had shitty MTV. We didn't have the good MTVs at that point. Like MTV had MTV2 at this point, where that's where all the music videos were at. And so like for me, I'm like much vibe and much loud. So much music is the Canadian version of it. And it's just like dudes for days. It really is. Yeah, the other thing is like even if you go back to all the lady albums of hip hop, right? There's this weird phenomenon, and this is just a reviewer and me noticing it. Whether it's Remy Ma, and Remy Ma is the most profound version of this because
I love her.
People know who she is today. Like she's ill today, and people kind of like respect her. But then you look at the first album, and some dude introduces her, and there's always a dude introducing it on these albums. Every classic album from a female artist, I think even Missy at that point had that too happen, like has this guy be like, yo,
that's a
let
fact.
me tell y'all she's the dope. But the thing is, you can't even find who the fucking guy is on the Remy Ma album. His name is just not to be found. And I thought that was the most introducing.
I love that you say that.
Because like, who is this? I don't know. I could not tell you. And I tried because we did the fucking album route. Every 10 albums on our classic album show, because we kind of trailed off, is a female artist. We said, yo, like we have to, otherwise what? Because my girlfriend does this, and she's like, you know, I only talk about guys, right? And I'm like, right. And then we started realizing like it's hard to actually find.
I had a trajectory in mind and shit. You know what I mean? And I knew Sara was gonna come on the show, and I knew what she was gonna lead into with. I had told you that when we had talked about this, like she was gonna be the doorway to all the women that like have like, because essentially Sara, like before her, there is no Queen of the Ring. There is no league of
this is before
female
the
battle
guys,
rappers.
Yeah.
Like the only other woman that is battle rapping essentially at the time, like actively, like is Gaddis, and like she's after Sara. Like there's documented like evidence that Sara was battling before her, you know? So it's just different. Like
Gaddis was just already on grind time before I got there.
Exactly.
And she was already getting her name up and things like that, which was shout out to my sister Gaddis. You know what I'm saying? She was leading right there in the Midwest. Well, you know, she was doing her Midwest work. I was doing the New York work. You know what I'm saying? But I say that to say I couldn't get any battles on a Monday night in Fight Club, because if they did set one up, either the female backed out or there was really no females. You know what I'm saying?
You were definitely
the significance of Mondays. The significance of Mondays at Fight Club are that like that was when like a lot of the main battles would happen. That was when like Nems would be in the building, or like, you know, all the main people, Arsenal, all the main people. When is this
happening? Like in a timeline? When
no,
is
it's
Fight
before
Club?
Arsenal. It's
no, I mean
Arsenal.
it's before. I just mean that's the day that those battles would happen.
Right.
Mondays.
So, sorry, just to
that's
clarify.
Why she says Mondays.
When is this happening? Like what year is all this happening? Just because.
Oh, this is like coming into the late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay, cool. So so we're back at that point, and okay, yeah. So there's definitely not even a lot of ladies. Like I was saying, like you can check like the lists, and it's so hard to like they can sum it up into like 15 people across like 15 years.
Right, and that's what it was. It was like artist wise, we had ladies like around, like, you know, myself, Apani, Jean Grey. You had Anomalies. You know, you had Heroin from the Juggernauts. There was Yajide. There was like a whole bunch of females that were actually in the game. It was just not in the pop culture, so to say, because pop culture was starting to take off.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And it was affecting me as a female rapper, because I latched onto female battle rap. And I remember being in Dutch's house one day, and I was like, yo, this shit got to change, bro. Like, I understood that at that time, I built my reputation as someone that was somebody you don't want to battle because I was that nice. You know what I'm saying? That was great to feel at the time because I was the only female at the time. You know what I'm saying? But I also understood, I was like, in order for me to prove in order for me to prove that female battle rap needs to exist, female rappers are still around, I gotta put myself out there even if I don't want to.
I think
Right?
another thing to add is that, like, in a lot of senses, battling was used as a marketing tool for a lot of people. So if you weren't like getting any spotlight to battling, it's almost like you had one less opportunity to exist and push your music. If I'm not mistaken about
Right.
that.
And well, back then it was a little different. Back then, battling wasn't as the way it's being looked at today. Battling wasn't as respected as the way it is today.
Right.
So back then, you wanted Miss Info and you wanted them on 107 to discuss your battle. If you had a good battle, you were thriving. When Iron Solomon was hidden, he was always on Miss Info. When Math Hoffa got to battle Nems, that ended up on Miss Info. So a lot of battlers, I can't speak for everybody because everybody has their own experience through there. You know what I mean? But you wanted to go to Fight Club and have such a dope battle that they either discussed it on Miss Info or something of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Because we knew YouTube, we didn't know, we only knew AOL, right? But we were always getting our media information for hip hop from the Hot 97s and the 105.1s, which wasn't 105.1 yet. You know what I'm saying? So that became for us in battle rap. That became a thing.
I think World Star was just coming to be at that time.
Right. So now we're transitioning battle rap into the online explosion, where the YouTubes come in and the stream lives and all this stuff comes in, right? And jump off happens. And I think I'm in Dutch's house and I think we were watching a bunch of jump off battles. I think we were watching Irons battles. And in between this and this timeline, we're going to end of the week. Shout out to EO Dub. You heard me. We went to end of the week. We were going to that open mic. We were getting involved in as much possible. And in between there, Jean Grey was thriving as an artist. You know what I'm saying? And me learning the ropes through all of them. And it got to a point where grind time ended up developing. But make no mistake, there was like jump offs. There was Lux was doing the Lux, they were still at the bookshop, the Lux and them. So if you was either watching your battles on the DVDs, whether it was Smack DVD, Sub-Zero DVD, I got to know Tech Nine through the Philly DVDs that were coming out, and I got to watch Tech Nine versus Paper Chaser. Your man, what's the name? Hollow Man, not Hollow, Hollow the Dawn. His name was Hollow Man. So I was watching. I was getting my dose of battle rap through these DVDs.
He doesn't know, by the way, though.
Hollow the Dawn?
Well, we know now.
No, now, like what I like about Holden is like he didn't, like before we started doing this shit together, like he didn't have no history with battle rap. Like he didn't watch no battle rap. So like he's new to all this shit. You know what I mean? And so she was saying like the difference between Hollow Man and Hollow the Dawn. Like Hollow the Dawn, you don't know Hollow Man.
I don't know the difference between Hollow Man and Hollow the Dawn, no. But I could politely follow and be like, yep, that's some stuff to Google after, and I'm down for that. So, I mean, no, it's like, it's been like a bit of an experience. I go through like these patches where I'm like, I'm going to go watch these battles for a minute, and then I go through other patches, but I definitely appreciate battling a lot more. I definitely feel like I understand the culture behind it. So because everything in life is context, and if I have to be real, as much as whatever that Bodied movie, it just explains so much to me, so that I was able to like actually step into battle rap and do this. And if Bodied didn't exist, there's a good chance that we wouldn't actually be having this conversation. So shout out.
Yeah, no, you appreciate it. You appreciate.
Wow, so that's interesting. Hold on, that's interesting for me. Really, can I ask you a question now? Can I ask you a question? Of course.
See, this is what happens with
cool. This is great.
So look, when we get a hold of somebody who's not of it, it's like, oh, hold on.
Right.
Now I want to hear your opinion on things.
So for you,
you're a rare gem to us.
So for you per se, the movie Battled is what led you to If you hear me battle, oh my god, how many blunts have we smoked? So for you, for I would say your generation, but for you per se,
For me
the movie
personally.
Bodied. Yeah, for you personally, the movie Bodied is what led you to look into battle rap.
So what it did was it answered questions I had. Because, yo, that protagonist in that movie, yo, I had to review it on a
That's a good
Patreon
word,
request.
protagonist.
So like I
Yes.
like on a Patreon request, I had to review it. So it's just like hour and a half video of me and my girlfriend talking about this. But really, I took notes and everything. It's like, so I used to be that guy, like down to the point where like I would look for excuses to like try to technically maybe drop an M-bomb here and there at like 23, being some edgelord type shit, right? So I'm watching this guy who I swear is me when I start rapping. All this shit, like all of it, trying to get girl, all of it, down to the way he betrays the man. But really, in the middle of that, I'm watching like the XO's X Ho, and it popped up, and I'm like, oh, and it was like real visual and shit. But that stuck with me. And then like I caught like the disaster getting punched part, like that was a cool pun or whatever for like visual thing. But also it's shit like seeing Riff Raff and Andy Milakis, or I can't say his name right for the life of me.
Andy
Milonakis.
I just, you know what? I like this guy so much, and I can't do it. I just fucking fumble every time. But like I seen Dirt Nasty. No, it was Dirt Nasty's there, or like Charlemagne the God crushed it too. So it had all these people in it that like I was already familiar with. That was cool. But it was just the way that it kind of showed in like the most marketing stereotype way possible a lot of the dynamics. But then it also was like, yo, people rap about guns out of respect. Because, like, why are we going to talk about our personal lives like that? You really want to ruin each other's... Nah, let us talk about my gun so big. And I'm like, oh, that's why my gun so big bars exists. And then you start, like, really, like, getting this, like, translation where it's like, yo, like, people finding out this guy is, like, a video game guy, like... that has like an impact. He's trying to protect his family and his shit. How are you gonna make bars? And then you watch him make these choices, and you're like, "Yo, that's just dirty to see." And it really like. So now when you're like circling back to "we all gonna jump you," violence. It's like, yo, I guess it's like more like Mortal Kombat than it is like anything else. But it's actually like, yo, they could do real damage. And then I'm like, yo, I'm glad I never battle rapped. I would have done some dumb shit and gotten like hurt.
So I'm glad you said that, because for me, depending on what generation you're in, determines on what side of this battle rap culture you came into, right? So for a lot of people, right, for a lot of us, we came from the culture that we were watching the Smack DVDs, or we were watching the Sub-Zeros, and we were watching like the what else we were watching? Oh my god, we were watching so fucking much. I can't remember everything, but we were watching these, and it was at a time where, like you said, you came into it where you watched this movie called Body, and it introduced you to it. Everybody has a different story of how they ended up stumbling upon into battle rap, right?
Yo, Sarah,
yeah, what's up?
I think there's a very thing to do in your interview and shit. Say hi, Paulie.
What's going on,
Hi,
Sarah?
Ollie.
I just wanna say Happy Mother's Day to you, because how we were talking about the other day, you're definitely one of the mothers. You're definitely, without a doubt, one of the mothers of hip hop. You get what I'm saying? Especially from what I know, so what I grew up on. So, you know what I mean? Shouts to you and Happy Mother's Day for that,
Thank you, my love. Love you. And give the girls a kiss for me. I like that shirt, by the way.
Shit's fly, right?
Sorry, guys.
Where'd he go?
Okay.
Minutes winning.
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you. Happy Mother's Day to everyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sorry about that.
But yeah, so like I was saying, that transition is different for everybody, you know what I'm saying? And battle rap right now it's in need of a certain structure, and that structure is this history that you're getting. There's not a lot of people that understand the history, right? Yeah, we know Smack, right? But how many of you can say that you actually saw the DVDs or you went to YouTube to see what the DVD used to look like? There's a difference between you watching Smack on YouTube versus the people that actually
No,
bought
but
the
it's
DVDs
even
at
more
the time,
like
right?
you guys grew up in an environment where literally you would go hood to hood and battle, and that's like your
Right.
come up. I grew up in an era where
Right.
I start music in 2012, so I'm just copping beats and making music and going to a studio, and it's all like affordable. And
Right.
I never even
And
one
you're
time.
right about that. Go into the Bronx. I went to Patterson, New Jersey one time to battle a dude named Dice who was fire, but you know, it's just everybody got their hood, they rep their hood. So you was going just to see, you know, it's the same story you get from Biggie. Biggie was in his hood and he was going to other hoods to battle. You know what I'm saying? And it was like
you go to your neighboring neighborhoods in New York City. You go to you walk a few blocks and you're in somebody else's neighborhood. So like you would do that, you know, but that was also really dangerous. Like I'd look back at like what we were doing and I'm like, yo, we was bugging. Like we would
which
like,
segues into what we were doing. I feel like that once we had the opportunity with Grind Time, and see, my experience into Grind Time was I didn't know about it. We were watching it. We were watching stuff in Dutch's house. I think one of the first battles we ever saw that introduced us to the Grind Time brand. And shout out to Lush, and shout out to Direct, and shout out to Matt Hills, and rest in peace to my brother Pumpkinhead. We were watching Tantrum versus what's his name? Dumbfounded. We were watching Tantrum versus Dumbfounded, and then we watched, I believe, Conceited versus Tall T. Rest in peace, Tall T. And it was around the time where Pumpkinhead was getting down with Grind Time, and we got. I think I was in your house when he called us. I think I was in Dutch's house when I got the call.
Yeah.
And PH was about to do a chapter in Grind Time, New York. They had one, but you know, we won't get into the big discussion of that. And if you guys spoke to Frankie Waps or something like that, you might
no,
get
Frank Stacks, not Frank Waps.
You still okay. All right, well, it's different. There's a different story behind it. But
I'm only talking to the important people, B. You know what I mean? Like, we're not doing all that.
So once Pumpkinhead took over, it was kind of like, yo, we stood together. Like, and he said it. He said, I need you to do a battle. We found a female for you. I need you to do the battle. I didn't want to do it. At first, I was like, I'm tired. It's been mad years at this point for me. It may not be mad years for everybody else because now the internet is different. But for me, it was like, oh, now, nigga, like it's already mad years. But I knew, and I think it was funny because we were having this conversation. I knew I needed to do it. I had to do it because I didn't want to do it, but I knew somebody had to do something. Somebody had to do something to get the ball rolling. And I was like, whether they like me or not, the way battle rap was is if you beat the top person, you get on, right? So at the time, I was considered the top person. Nobody understood why, because they didn't have footage to go by, because at the time, Fight Club was defunct and didn't release any other footage other than what they had done.
Did you tell Holden about like how you used to body, like the dudes that they did put in front? Like how many dudes
no, we
you
did
bodied?
not talk
like,
about all the dudes you bodied, Sara Kana. Talk about the dudes you bodied. Tell them.
So, all right. So, and he tells it so much better. So yeah, I was in Fight Club, and unfortunately, they couldn't find girls. And the second time around, when I returned to Fight Club, it was still the same thing. There wasn't really a lot of girls. So what happened was, shout out to Von Dutch and shout out to International P and J. At the time, there was a gentleman named Jay who was running Fight Club or whatever. And shout out to them because they stood behind me. Like, I'm not going to lie. They were just like, yo, they're not fucking with Sara, right? And there was one point where Von Dutch was just kind of like, yo, keep coming back every Friday. Just keep coming back. Just keep coming back. And at some point, it started to happen to keep my sword sharp because Monday would come and it was nothing. You know what I'm saying? Or that's what they would tell me. You know what I'm saying, so to say. So when people were coming to try out for Fight Club, it got to a point where I was the person that you tried out against at some point. in Fight Club. So and this was around the time when Iron was at the top of Fight Club, where Iron was like the shit. And if you battled him, it means you were like, oh, you got there, right? So now Iron's coming in with his lunch and he sees me. I know Iron from end of the week, right? I know he battled, but I knew Iron from end of the week more or less, right? That's my end of the week brother. So when he come in, he see the line full of guys. Shout out to my Grib, who was a part of that. Shout out to a dude named 40 from Jersey. He was a part. I bodied him. Ooh, I did him greasy. And it was a whole line, right?
There we go.
Like it was a whole line, and then it got to a point where like they got, Iron Solomon walks in, so they're like, oh shit, it's Iron. And when Iron walks in, the first words out his mouth was, the person you have to be careful with is her. Mm-hmm. But he told the whole line, this is the person you have to be careful with, right? So of course, being a female in a level of testosterone that's through the roof, of course, with hip hop, there were some dudes that were like, okay. And then you had the dudes that was like, she ain't doing shit, man. This ain't, bitch gonna kill me. And it got to a point where like that same dude that was talking shit finally got to see me. And it was great because for me, it was like, I looked at Dutch, I was like, I'm gonna embarrass the fuck out of this. But at that time, I was probably the only person that knew how to flip the whole narrative of the gay, lesbian, you're gay, you're ugly, you're fat, you're this. There was really nobody flipping that but Goddess in the Midwest at the time. So when he got in front of me, he was coming at me with all kinds of insults. Like, Dyke, go watch this shit. Go do this. Dyke. I think I heard like 50 dykes in his brown. I don't even remember, but I just remember looking at Dutch and I was like, yo, if he says this shit one more time, and he said it again. And I was like, oh my God, like how many times is he gonna call me a dyke in one bar? And then it came to my turn and I just looked at him and it was just like, I was hyped. Like, and then Dutch was trying to tell me to calm down. Everybody was like, just relax, take your time. Cause I had a habit back then too of getting too hyped, as you can see with the Goddess versus Sara Kana battle. But I just went at him. I remember because I looked at him and I said, yo, this dude keep calling me a dyke. Well, you absolutely right. And since you pussy, I guess I'll be eating you tonight. And then everybody was like, ah, like I just remember the reaction in the room was just so crazy. Yeah. And then I just started hitting him. And I remember just leaving my last bar because it was still time. And it was like 90 seconds back then. And like you had to stick to the time. And I just remember right before it came to that time, I started calling him Flavor, and I had everybody dying. And shit, KM was there actually too. Shout out to my brother Young Gainers and shit. He was there as well, and he was in Fight Club, and they need to give him more props because he was out in the trenches with us. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I did that, and then I started getting like tired of going back every Friday, and like I just started feeling like maybe. And then at that time, Tech was co-signing me. Shout out to my brother Immortal Technique. And he was just standing by me like, my sister will fuck you up. And then I just got so like uninspired. By the time I got to Goddess, I realized, okay, I want to shift. And I believe me and Dutch were having the conversation after, but I was like, I want to shift from battle rapper to becoming something different to help bring female battle rap back to life somehow. We need more girls so we can rotate Goddess. I can't rotate Goddess if I don't have somebody to battle her. Right. So I just started, putting all this.
The equation of women being missing in hip hop is like that. That's what you started focusing on at that point. That was when you were really like, it was missing. I think Nikki was just starting to put out her first mixtapes, which is younger. Yeah, she was a whole lot younger. Yeah, whole lot younger. She was a teenager. But it's still like I said that to say like it still was very much so missing, like it was not
right. And that's why like for me, I wasn't where everybody on the internet was exploding. I wasn't accustomed to the internet. You know what I'm saying? So sorry about that. So for me, I just wanted to help somebody get in the game, right? That was the first thing I thought about. Like win or lose, I'm going to keep helping this person. And I kept telling that to Dutch. And then I remember getting like after I battled Goddess and I remember being Dutch House like, why are these people attacking me? I don't know them, because I wasn't accustomed to like comment sections or nothing like that. It was all new territory for me online battle rap. But when I started getting like PH started showing me the ropes, you know what I'm saying, and kind of trying to walk me through it, you know what I'm saying, and by the time I got to Direct was like, yo, there's a female in Connecticut, that girl you about to battle. If you think she's dope enough, then hey, let's see what's up. And that's where you get QB comes in, and the QB versus Sara Kana battle happens. Those are the only two battles that I have on online internet. Everything else is streets and EO dub, or you know, things that never really surface on the internet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like all her
I
major
really like that
wins,
battle. Like, I watched that one. So I you know what? I know it says at the end that QB wins, but I was like, everything Sarah is saying is like really like this like psychological response, looking into the depth of it behind. Like, it was honestly like you did a lyrical breakdown in real time. And I thought that was really cool. And I don't know, the other version, I don't know, maybe it was cool for the times, but it didn't age as well. So like,
well, yeah, I wasn't as connected to it as QB was, as
no, but
because
I'm saying
I'm
like
pretty sure at
I
that
just
time.
like I thought you took it. That's where I was going with that. Like, I feel like watching it in 2021, you took that shit. That's all
yeah.
I'm
I
saying.
I
mean, it's one of
appreciate you.
those
I
things,
appreciate
and
it.
this is the thing, right? Like
Like, no
I
disrespect
know
to
how
QB or whatever.
I
But
know how
that's how
Sarah
it is.
feels, like, because
Right.
I felt that way, right? Like, but you know how many like more fans I got from my like what I feel is like my worst battle, like my battle with Rhetoric Ramirez. I feel like that's like my worst battle, and like that's probably the battle I get my most fans from, because people just
I
like
like
they
that
watch
battle.
it
Yeah.
and they're like, yo, I like your style better. I like you.
Right.
You know, and it's just a preference thing. That's the
Yeah.
thing with battle rap. You know, it's just a fucking
Yeah, it's
preference.
that preference game came into play. But the first thing I told QB was instantly was, yo, I'm getting you a grind time. Fuck this shit. Like, yo, we got
Word.
to make this
No, I
happen.
remember. I was there for all of it, yo. So I
And
remember.
you know, I then when we started planning an event, and PH and Penn were like, so what are we gonna do? And I was like, yo, it gotta be Goddess and QB. This is gonna make history. I think QB is gonna change. For me, QB, where Goddess and me represented changing the game for studs, right? And AGs. And I say this lingo because this is for butchy AGs. Butchy women for our lingo in the hood and urban communities is AG or stud or whatever the case may be, right? They look more like a man, just to give you that quick definition. Um, so me and Goddess are wholeheartedly responsible for putting that work in her Midwest, me, New York, right? But when QB came into play, and I remember telling the guys this, I was just like, she can really change the game and bring this level of because when I battled her, I was like, yeah, somebody that was just like me, not afraid to be vulgar, not afraid to be disrespectful, not afraid to say all this crazy next level shit. And I was like, yo, Dutch, she's just like me. She don't give a fuck. She don't give a fuck. It's gonna be crazy. Watch. And when that battle happened, if you go back and you watch Young Goddess versus QB, everybody's reaction in the crowd was like, oh shit. Because I believe in round 2, she came right out the gate like, bitch, shut the fuck up. And it wasn't like she said anything like so amazing and crazy. But at that time in female battle rap, other than myself or Goddess, they had never experienced a female being that raw, right? So
Yeah,
after
big
that, everybody
facts.
was like, yo, oh shit,
Yeah.
QB. And I was like, yo, we just keep booking her, man. It doesn't matter. Just keep booking up, keep booking Goddess, keep booking. Like, and then it turned out that I didn't want to do a female league at that time. And Dutch was around for that too. And rest in peace to my brother PH. But what everything PH taught me and what I was learning, I wanted to do something special where I had a conglomerate of females that were traveling together to different battle leagues and battle. Right? I didn't want to do a league. I wanted to start this conglomerate of females where they were going to different states and battling, where it
I
can
didn't say it back
inspire.
then, but you know, I think that like that's kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of female in battle rap.
That's
Right?
what it
Because
That could have
sounds
been
like.
yo,
amazing.
it was like
That would have been
I was
amazing.
like, I think I was getting, I had my verse, Oh Blimey, QB, Misfit. This was before they had their mishaps.
All
And,
right, hold on.
and like, it was
let
like
me
a whole.
let me pause you for 1 second, right? And let me do some more like narrative expletive
I got you.
explanation for
I
like
got
these
you.
names, right? So like my verse is on Nick Cannon's Wildin' Out show, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Nah,
Sarah?
I don't think she's
No.
on it now, but she's been
She's
on it.
been
But
on it.
my verse has won an MTV award for her music contributions.
Okay,
So that she's definitely done.
uh you said who else?
Oh Blimey.
Oh Blimey, which we're gonna have on the show in a couple weeks.
Facts.
Right.
Really talented
Misfit.
artist. She'll be able to like go into more depth of herself when she's on. Then you said who?
Misfit and
Misfit,
Penn
who is
is bought Misfit. Hold on, pause real quick because I want to make sure this is very important. Penn brought Misfit to my attention on a phone call that he's like, we're gonna book her, and we ended up booking Misfit. And Misfit needs to get credit for being one of the first Latinas in the game. This is pre my verse. You understand? Being one of the first Latinas in the game to represent battle rap. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to give her flowers. She's doing an amazing job with her podcast. I think it's called My Stupid Advice, and being with Math Hoffa on My Expert Opinion and doing her music. I just wanted to shout out Misfit real quick, just to give her flowers. But go ahead.
Respect.
You just did the thing that I was gonna do, which was that list off the thing that she's, her podcast is really successful, and then she's on Matt Hoffa's podcast. So like these are all like
I've seen her then. I saw Matt Hoffa's podcast before.
Yeah.
She's the female. She's the female that sits in the other chair.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And so, but the point is, like, these are all women that have gone on to be very successful, and like, Sara definitely was like there early on championing the opening of the opportunities for all of them to have more of a platform, So
right.
She didn't run a lead, but she was the one setting up all these battles and opportunities for those women to shine out here in New York.
Like the one thing that I also wanted to point out too is shout out to Queen of the Ring, because that kind of like kind of like segueing into that transition now, where now Pumpkinhead, Penn takes over Grind Time. I bring it. I gotta say, I can't say we, because Pumpkinhead, if he was alive to this day, he'd be like, yeah, you brought him in as a battle rapper, but you ain't say nothing to me about everything else. And we will always like do things and be like, so that's just here. And he'd be like, he's staff at this point. Like we're like, yes, you agree, thanks, all right, yeah, great.
So
you
snuck Flacky onto the board.
We didn't really sneak him in. He earned his way on, but we were just like, because at that time it was getting bigger and bigger. We needed the more help. You know what I'm saying? And a lot was landing on my lap.
Talked about that in my last interview.
Like a lot started landing on my lap at the time, and I was just like, okay, well, we do need Dutch. I was like, because I can't handle everything like that as much anymore, because now my personality and the Sara Kana personality was starting to grow, and I was starting to get I was started working with Star from Star and Buckwild. Shout out to my man Ram. And working with just different people and doing different events, you know what I mean? So that's how Dutch came into play. Once Penn took over, I made a promise to PH. I was like, don't worry, Penn's transition is going to be easy. And it was. And in that transition, I'm not going to lie to you, I got rid of a few battlers that didn't need to be in the vision that we were having going forward for the Grind Time East Coast brand. Because the one thing people need to understand, is that Pumpkinhead had a vision, and myself, and Penn agreed with that vision. When Dutch came along, he agreed with that vision. And that vision was to bring battle rap back to New York City as the most dominant sport. At the time, it was in the West Coast, and it was being seen with Disaster and Awkwards, and T-Rex was going out there. And we got to remember that before URL did come along, and this is no slate to them because these are my hearts as well. Grind Time had laid this foundation down so that there can be an URL to come in the game and just dominate. So there can be a Queen of the Ring to come in the game and dominate. And I want to shout out, my brother Vague, because I had a relationship with Vague way before battle rap ever even came along. And shout out to Babs and Debo. When they started Queen of the Ring, they came to my crib, they sat on my couch, and they told me, yo, we want to make sure you knew we were going to do this, and we wanted your blessing. And at that time, it was different. Like, you were giving respect to the people that were paving that way, and they were giving me that respect. And from that day forward, I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Let's go. You know what I'm saying? And it was another platform, and shout out to them, because for me, my dream was to make sure there was something rotating for female battle rap. And if Queen of the Ring came out of that, then that's my dream come true. You know what I'm saying? That's their dream come true for them and their brand. But as far as a vision I had for female battle rap, that was a dream. And I told them, I'm not going to start a league yet. I just want to help people. When I did Bars and Bone Straps, it wasn't to stay a league. I wanted to do something different, but people are so used to what they are following and what they do that when you kind of come out of the box, they think it's all about the popularity levels, and I'm all about the development level. I'm all about getting the girls forward. I wanted to book them on URL. I wanted to book them on the King of the Dots. I wanted to help. You know what I'm saying? And so that's for me, you know what I mean, where I come in with that. Once Queen of the Ring started blowing up, it was like, yo, I don't got to worry about this shit. They pretty much got this shit. Like, I ain't got to worry about this shit. You know what I mean? But I think I was in Dutch's house again, and I think I was talking to Pumpkinhead. And it wasn't even, actually, we got to go back before that, and I have to give a shout out to the Queen of the Ring battlers, C3, K Prophet, and Lex Banco, because we were at a Queen of the Ring event, and they pulled me to the side, and we were smoking a blunt, and they said, you have to be the creator of the first gay battle league. So shout out to C3, because they planted the seed in me. And then I was in Dutch's house, and I said, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going, I don't know. And then it started to get a little tight, and I was doing my research, because that's how we kind of naturally are. We do the research before we jump in feet first, right? So I was doing the research, and I was getting with certain people. We're not going to discuss the little mishaps that happened, but PH was definitely like, don't be scared of it. Do it. It's going to work. It's going to work. It's going to work. It worked. You know what I'm saying? Like, here we are. I can say that, Prism has been the most amazing experience. Having the LGBTQ league for me was important because it represented me, but it also, for me, I needed people to understand their talent before their sexuality. And the only way to do that, and unfortunately, we in the hood got the drug game, right? You got to test the product before you buy it, you dig? So that's how I just took battle rap, right? Test the product, let them test the product. If they want to buy it, let them buy it. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I came into the game. But the formula was installed in me through PH and Penn. You know what I'm saying? The formula of how to keep that ball rolling. You know what I mean? So here we are. Well, we
how
got
do you
5
start
years
a battle
in Prism,
rap
6
league?
years.
You started a battle rap. How do you start one? That's like a huge, it's so cool.
So, right, you have to die first, right? So then you become the sacrifice for the Illuminati, right? And then what happens is you make the left foot Albuquerque, right? So you have to die first. That's step one, right? You have to die. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But
that's an interesting way
you
to
just
put
have
it, though.
to, if you know and I'm going to say this, I don't care what nobody says, there is a science in what we do. There is a feeling, there is an energy in what we do when you know you're going to do an event or when you know what you want to do, right? And you follow that energy, for me at least. But when you've learned and you're like, okay, you've been around it long enough, like, okay, I got to call the venue. And in calling the venue, I got to make sure I have the money. But before I call the venue, I got to make sure I have the money first, just in case I could get that venue in that moment. All right, next thing I have to call, when we're creating the card, I have to make sure the guys are locked in and they're not telling the whole world, which is another whole other interview. So when you start getting to know that, it starts to become muscle memory.
Okay.
So then when you start doing it for yourself, it's like, okay, we got this, we got that, we got. You'll start. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's people that lost money doing events. When you're good to people, you're not spending a lot of money to do your event. You're using that money for the next event or the people you want to pay on your staff, right? If you're smart, right? You know how to financially make that work. Now, we're not talking about the king of the dots and the URLs. We're talking about people like us, like the Prison Battle Leagues, We Go Hards, and you know, people like that. You know, you're hard.
You got it. Okay. So I sort of know what you mean by that because I know what a rap grid is. And I clicked on the rap grid and I clicked on the
Shout out to Direct.
Right. And I clicked on the battle rap leagues and then there's just this list. And I'm like, okay, but then you don't, it's just a lot of names, right? But then you don't see it all on YouTube like that. And it just isn't very clear. And then all these people play on all the big leagues. And it's like, this is not clear, I think, because that's a problem with battle rap. Is the entry point is so high. Like, you have to be, like, so down.
Well, it's saturated now. It's saturated.
But that just makes it harder because, there's a big myth that people like choice. People don't like choice. People like streamlined experiences that make them not feel kind of ignorant. So you come into battle rap. And it's like a million leagues, a million styles, a million things, and there's not even a directory outside of, like, anything clean that is, like, okay, let me have, like, you know how, like, on YouTube, there's those little animated 6-minute videos that break shit down for you on every topic so that you can get to the hard videos? That don't exist for battle rap. So you come into this and you're like, and then everyone, like, okay, so I'm in Canada. I've seen some of the King of the Dot stuff, and they just point at people in the crowd and shit. And I'm like, who the fuck are you talking about? You know? And I'm not like saying it from like, I'm just saying, who are you talking about? I don't. So then if you go and delve into it, okay, yes, it's rewarding. It's worth it. I encourage everyone out there to do it. But gosh, I wish there was like a little tutorial like at the beginning of a video game and that would just break it all down one time.
You know, it's funny. I've always thought about doing that, but because battle rap it has this like everything, hip hop, battle rap, the music industry, there's always pros and cons, right? So with battle rap, it's like people just like it to be done like right there fast, and it has to be connected to something juicy like a tea. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, but I've always, for me, if I was a millionaire, because you know there's so many people that love battle rap, that support battle rap, that are A-listers. They come, they may help with an event here, or you know, do something there or whatever. But eventually I like to see, for me, I can't speak for everybody else, because to do something like this will require everybody to want to be involved at once. And for me, I feel like battle rap deserves its own cable network channel, because it's so much history from the 80s till now. There's so much footage. Ooh. And when I see people like Nick Cannon using people and wilding out, and he owns a whole network, and I'm looking at like the caffeine, you know, latching on to the network, and I see the, you know, everybody, I'm just like, yo, one nation, you know what I'm saying? Let's get this bag, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be a channel that has a hierarchy of everyone within battle rap that set the blueprint, that understand how to work with corporate structure, and it has to be with a corporate structure.
Yo, this you know what I'm saying? Sick. I'm like,
it has to be a corporate. This has to be a corporate structure that understands how to work with this structure, and vice versa.
Oh my gosh,
not
that
dictatorship.
Sounds like fucking fun. Anyway, that sounds like a fun
project. Right. So whereas we would have to understand, right, the corporate structure is trying to polish us up and be good for TV. We have to help them understand, like, listen, times have changed. You're going to have to progress a little bit. HBO got some shit. Showtime got some shit. Everybody got some shit. And now you can curse on TV. Cut it out, man. Let's go with the cursing. Let's go. You don't worry. Stop. They said dick. I was just watching fucking Sons of Anarchy. Come on. I just saw his dick. No, we're going to FX. You know what I mean? Like, knowing how to be like, listen, stop being afraid of it.
Yo, there's so much potential in what you just said. I'm like, yo, right. My imagination's running. But like, Nah, you don't even need the big people anymore. That's what's interesting. Like, you can just like, because the whole world's going to a subscription model, right? Which is why it's a nifty idea. But like, I feel like people put so much effort into ecosystem before they have to, when they can just leverage existing ecosystem, get that foundation to pay for the next level. Like, yo, running an app and shit, like doing all this website stuff. Like, I work for a software company. Y'all gonna need to hire people. Yo, securities and shit, data, compliance, legals. Like, I don't know if you know how many departments there are in a software company, which is where you become at that point. So I'm like, I like being a content company where it's like, all I got to know about is copyright law. Like, that's it. Copyright law, that's the one laws I got to follow. Everything else is simple as fuck. Where can I monetize which avenues best? Simple, easy, breezy. But like, y'all like can just organize, like I could talk to like you and Lush on a direct. If y'all like as bosses of this era got together and created a Twitch channel or something like that. I say Twitch because Amazon owns Twitch.
Well, Lush and them are with the league called King of the Dot. Shout out to them. They're on Twitch. And then you have Smack URL that's on the Caffeine.
I meant it more like
Caffeine app.
Like a different IP, not like a battle rap league. More like a battle rap historian endeavor where y'all like do this more just documentary style. Cause like I could do what I want here, but like y'all could do it like in a new way.
I agree, but it would have to. Things are moving so fast with battle rap, and things get so like it's hard to get everybody when you want on the same page, right? Okay. It doesn't mean they don't want to be. It just means it has to work. Whereas, okay, so Lush One, perfect example. You're not going to approach Lush One with something stupid. You're talking about someone that was depicted into a film called Body. They created a whole character around Lush. He acted Lush to the core, right? We could have got Lush, right? But this is now when we have that example of corporate structure versus what battle rap is. Perfect example. Lush could have did it, right? He could have played himself. Normal. But they had an actor do it, right? It's a concept of this is ours, right? And in order for us to be able to progress to certain levels, or everyone gets something out of it, because the way it's working, it's like, okay, yes, they're getting something out of it. They're getting something out of it. But it's still the battle rap culture. It's still a culture. And it's not just one individual level of league. Yes, we have our own TMZs. Bloggers are like the how they say the paparazzi sometimes. You know what I mean? They're like the paparazzi. Not all bloggers. I don't want to make sure, but bloggers are like paparazzis. Then you have the leagues are like, I guess you would consider either the program or the TV show. And then you have, you know, the stars, which are the battlers. And then you have the platforms that are like the show, so to say. King of the Dot is the show you watch when you want to see somebody like Pat Stay or you know what I'm saying? Or you want to see the Grand Prix. Or you're going over to Caffeine because you want to see, you know, Ultimate Madness 3. You want to see Summer Madness. You want to see, you know, Crucible or something like that. Or you'll go over to iBattle because you may want to see somebody like Dinish or somebody like that. So it's like everybody has a streaming service, or they're just still on YouTube, or they're just keep doing events, right? In order for everybody to be able to, like, if it was a channel, going back to that idea, and it was programs geared towards certain things, it would be amazing. You know what I mean? But it would have to, like I said, it would require everyone to kind of humble up a little bit, kind of see what we can all gain out of something. It's not a kumbaya. It's let's take this friendly competition and get this bag.
Yeah, I think you just described the every city problem in hip hop in like really eloquent terms. And I say that every city because you see that meme that went around where it was like everyone's city with a staircase, and then there was ATL with everyone handing a bag up. But I saw like 7 different versions of that, different cities swapping up. But really, it's like everyone's so focused on their own thing that it's hard to to manage that bigger picture. But the way you broke it down as TV show productions, it really like resonated. I used hockey teams and NHL to compare it in my own version of it, but like it's really apt. It's like there's this whole like universe that has to cohesively kind of, and it's almost like people have to agree on the narrative. And until you can agree on the narrative and make it kind of cohesive, the people that are not currently invested in what you do are never going to even start to develop the interest, because it doesn't look like you have your shit together, even if everyone's got their shit together. If the top level narrative doesn't have cohesion, it creates cognitive dissonance.
Yes. So, we still got a ways to go, but as soon as, and I'm gonna say this, it's an unpopular opinion, but battle rap has to be, I would say, community wise. I'm not saying everybody, if it don't apply, let it fly. But stop being easily manipulated to believe everybody has that good intention, especially if they're coming from an A-list. Not saying that A-list people have bad intentions, good intentions. I'm just saying, we created something. It's amazing. The world is watching, and they're going to come to you because they can get something out of it. So let's get something out of it then. If they want us to work, we got to make it work for us. We have to be able to learn how to flip that narrative. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to like you around King of the Dot, because they learned how to definitely, when it comes to business and doing certain things, shout out to them for being able to, and I'm sorry, I'll say this all day, we blueprinted battle rap business from the ground up. It wasn't like there was this class we could take. There wasn't anything we needed to do but have the experience.
I've been saying on the show, like, we created an industry where there was none. We were shunned. We were the ones that had no ins to the music industry, and the only way that we saw a way was to do the things that we knew to do, which was be good at everything, be show ready, be radio ready, be interview ready, be battle ready, be battle tested, be able to freestyle, be able to put on the show, all these things. And so we did that, and we battled because we knew that that was just another way of showing off our talent, and in hopes of being able to get a record deal so that we can make music. And
not to cut you off, Dutch. The person in the background, sorry, somebody was like, I'm curious about the background image. That's Vice Versus. He's also he was the founder, one of the founders of End of the Week. Also one of my first battles at Manhattanville College, when, like I said, I was going around. I wanted to tell that story and I was just caught up. But he's also one of the people that first battled, and I just want to say rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Vice Versus.
Rest in peace, Vice Versus. So yeah, he's a part of that community as well. And I just wanted to make sure he got his flowers too, because he's definitely a part of my getting me where I need to be. So yeah, R.I.P. to my brother, Vice Versus.
R.I.P. to Vice Versus. Yeah, and like End of the Week, like we created an industry where there was none, and we like put in wild work. There was no blueprint for none of this. We just created it as we went on the fly, and the things that we created still stand to this day. Like there's ways that companies like URL, before having their deal with caffeine, their main revenue that was coming in from events besides the door of the venue itself was online pay-per-view. And we literally pioneered battle rap pay-per-view at Grind Time East Coast with like what was the name of the event? I forgot the name of the event. Poison Pen mentioned it in his interview. Follow the Leader. Ironic name, perfect name. Follow the motherfucking leader. Okay, follow the leader. And for years, like a decade later, they were still following the leader and using pay-per-view as a revenue stream for their to expand their empire. And those are things that we invented. We invented the training league, and having the training league, be where we funnel in talent and build them up so that we can get them onto the main stage.
Word, shout out to Concrete Animals, Newborn in DNA. Remember Concrete Animals?
Facts. That's where I started.
Word up. Shout out to Concrete Animals.
Yeah. And then the draft league, you know, like that became like the blueprint for all the other places to like use as like, this is what you do. You have a league underneath the league so that you could funnel in the talent directly to the league. And like, there's just a bunch of things that we pioneered that like kept on going years later. Like there's literally a blueprint that like we set and people followed. And like, it's literally how people feed their families now. You got kids that like have no idea about like rapping on songs. They don't care about rapping on songs because they know that they're gonna make a lot more money rapping on stage in battles than they're gonna make trying to make any music, you know? And they're like feeding
And
their
it's even to the
families
point
and
where like we see that in Montreal now, right? Like there's the DMS Battle League, and they have a bunch of people. Now, granted, one of their prerequisites is you have to have a song out, but still, like the people who are there, like I'm in their little private battle group. Like these guys actually get paid to go perform, and I can tell you that 95% of the English musical artists in Montreal do not get paid to perform that make just music. It's really only the battlers that can make any kind of money right now in the English scene, if I'm being completely real with you. I'm talking like, granted, a lot of it might be you gamble on the battle a little bit, but there's still even that opportunity to gamble on it. What are you going to do at a concert? Do your fucking set, maybe sell some merch if you're lucky? You know, like these battle rappers have so much going on with them that there's actual rev sources that get attached to it beyond that. And so like these guys do kind of make more money at like that level because they kind of have the skills. So they then practice further and they take it a little more seriously, if I'm being honest, because I'm watching them. Now, the league, whatever, as they try to structure it and get their Patreon on and do their things and adapt to COVID, but they were like legit. They were throwing like real events at proper venues, taking it mad serious, English, French, doing the things, and it was like, it's really cool. I watched their shit. I was like, all right, this is my city. It's cool to see this here.
That's
Guarantee
dope.
you,
I mean,
they're
I
taking it
do
all
think
from
it
that
does.
inspiration from what y'all did. 100%.
That's dope. And I wish, like, cities are different. Like New York City, it's a little tougher. You know what I'm saying? To get people as a battle rapper, to get them to support your music. Um, as in New York, always had this little stigmata where they would say like battle rappers can't make music. So it's a little tougher in New York. Um, but what I will say is that it's changing, and it it changed a long time ago where it became, it's no longer that battle rappers can't make music, is that some dudes that make music just can't battle rap. And that was exposed. You know what I'm saying? And that's the truth about it. You know, it's great that you know where the little, you know, where the little snot nose is. That's how the music industry looked at battle rap. Like, you know, y'all the streets, y'all the little, you know. But at the end of the day, that's where everybody wanted to come into battle rap. We're talking about the Joe Buttons, we're talking about the Cassidys, we're talking about the Cannabises, we're talking about when you have people like you know, Jadakiss putting up his numbers and everything like that. It's because they see it, you know what I'm saying? And they see the potential in it, but they see it, they want a piece of it because the most competitive sport for any rap artist that has a pen, because your mind is your lethalest weapon, that's what they want. You know, to get somebody's famous and tell be like, you know what, I'm gonna battle you, fam. Like, you know what I'm saying? And they come, and sometimes they come into battle rap with good intentions. Sometimes they come into battle rap, they do what they do and they bounce and they leave. You know, not everybody does that. Shout out to everybody that's been super supportive and there for all the battlers, giving the opportunities and you know, not leaving them high and dry. You know what I mean? But like I said, it's different depending on where you are. You know, and I think it's dope that there where you are, they're supporting the battle rappers and their music. That's dope.
Yeah, I mean,
That's very dope.
let's say like it's still in progress. It's in its whatever, but there is support for it, and it is the thing that's happening. And like I'm seeing, it's still like super underground, but like that's kind of part of it, right? Like it's in that phase. But like as far as engaged communities go, I have to give them props. They're one of the strongest communities in the cities.
That's dope. That's dope, man. Definitely, I would definitely support. You know what I'm saying? But Man, this is dope. Like, maybe I'm high. How many blunts did we just smoke? Like 4, 5 already? Like, what the
I
fuck?
smoke a fair bit, so this has become the regular of my life. You smoke a bunch of joints on camera with strangers and have conversations.
Amazing. Love it. Yes.
And then everyone's like extra comfortable because we're all at home, and it's now 4:20.
And it's like, I'm here doing this and I'm watching the Knick game at the same time. It's great. This is great.
I swear that's
Smoking
amazing.
a blunt,
I
talking to
swear
you, good
that's
people.
amazing. Literally, no one has just been flat out like, I got a game on in the back while I'm doing this before.
Y'all don't hear it? Oh, I have it low. I have it super low. But yeah, I'm watching the
Yeah,
Knick
no,
game.
we hear it.
I mean, I hear it now that you like say it, but like, for real, it's like in general, like, yeah, people tend to like fuck with the at-home vibe more than it's one of those things where people don't want to admit it. Everyone wants to act like they want to go in like these like fancy ass studios for these interview shits, and we do for the aesthetic of it. But when we actually talking about the conversation of it, people want to be comfortable. And like, you're not gonna be comfortable coming to my. Well, frankly, I'm in my shop. But let's say you could come here easy. You're not gonna be like just come. You fly to another country. You're gonna be all sorts of not in your natural. So it's like way better to have people that find like doing the Zoom version. It's one of the weird gifts.
Yeah.
It's made interviews better.
I'm in my element. Holden got me talking about how old I am without actually saying how old I am.
That's cool. I mean,
I like you, kid. I like you. Yeah, I'm joking.
I mean, I was able to do a little maths along the way because I know how old Flacco is. But otherwise it was like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. That's not polite. It's not proper.
Yeah, nah.
I'm like being I'm not that bad at this shit, you know. Like sometimes I'll have a few blunders along the way and I'll get a couple of looksy poos, but like, no, I mean, like, nobody needs to know. Like,
looksy poos. Looksy poos is it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm looksy pooing for life. There it is.
Yo,
that's
it's
it.
so fun. It's
and
just,
that's the show. That's the show. Looksy poos. That's it. That's it.
I love
it's fun.
But
it's like, I don't know, man. It's like people in Montreal be silly. Whatever anyone wants to act, we're like a silly, goofy vibe, in my opinion, right? So I'm thinking a lot about vibes. Like, I'm not New York, right? So like, it's just like, I was like, okay, so I'm not that. And a lot of people here might want to be New York, and that's cool. But I'm like, what's Montreal? So I think about this ethereally at like a demographic level. And you know what I realized? We're kind of goofy. We're like a goofy fucking place. Like, our biggest beef is English versus French. Right away, we're off to like a weird start, okay?
Why is that? That's crazy. Isn't that been for years, right?
Yo, it's like seriously, like, I make jokes about it because it's that bad.
Like, yeah, I know.
Like, I don't know, like, I kind of don't have like a great answer for it, but let's say people treat English here, and it's like, without making it a direct comparison, but it's comparable to the way the systemic oppression of black people happens in America. It's comparable.
Wow.
So like, there's laws and shit that paint English in an enemy, and we're talking recent shit. Like, if people actually read the legislation, there was this one legislation that would have segregated education and put norms in for English. I'm like, yo, bro, this sounds like a 1960s racism document. So I wrote this bar, like, English, French, subtracted black, white, you know, whatever. I don't remember it exactly. But like, I was so like, bro, just change the word English to black and change the word French to white, and it's a fucking very different document. But you don't have to change any other words. Wow. But that was 2014. That was like when I was starting to get more politically inclined in life. And it was some real shit. But the quick answer is, identity politics is really a big deal. And Quebec gets more money out of the federal government in a significant way. So it's really like complex at that level. But by creating this national French issue, they created a bunch of special shit. There's a lot of issues with it at like the national level. And then provincially speaking, it kind of boils down to, there's the pro-French side and the anti-French side. So in a lot of ways, it's what American politics became, but like, it really boiled up in the 90s, and it's been like that since the 90s. So there was a great exodus too when they did the referendum shit. And it's all because rural Quebec controls the democratic situation. So like, there's more seats in rural Quebec.
So it's like your shit is corrupted just like our shit is corrupted.
Yeah.
Got it. Gotcha. Yeah.
Fair enough. That was a lot, but like it's a big subject, right? But then it like boils down to like French versus English, honestly. And I'm like, yo, at one point I'm like, all Quebec has to do is put up a sign with a hot girl and said more women speak French, learn the language. And I guarantee you every guy would have realized that having a French accent makes the process simpler, because having a French accent helps, is something that you learn. And
Wow.
they never advocated that side of it on some Catholic moral shit, fake Catholic moral shit. And so instead of playing to the
Talk
fact,
about it.
I mean, yo, Quebec has parishes, but religious symbols be banned. Yo, that's weird. You know what a parish is?
Wow.
It's the radius around a church. How do you have a parish in a place that has
Yo.
like? Anyway, Quebec's whack. It's really it's goofy. But it all feels so ridiculous to describe next to other people's problems, but they're real problems. But add a ridiculous factor. That's like unnecessary. It's all unnecessary is the problem with it. Like, yo, tout le monde peut juste apprendre le français, and all the other people can learn fucking English. And guess what? Bilingualism. We all look sexier to the rest of the world. It's like fucking simple.
The way I see it, it's not that serious. It's like you learn a different language, you kind of put yourself in a position to get a job where you get paid more because you spoke that language.
But all the old Quebecers,
they're not hearing us.
All the old Quebecers be like, French is dying around the world. We have to protect French. And it's like,
yeah, that sounds ridiculous.
Like this is you know what? I'm not lying, okay? I'm not exaggerating. I wish I would. I wish this was a joke.
He's right though. I know he's right. And it's crazy because it stems deeper than that when you talk politics, right? Like we know people try to control narrative, right? So when people are at dire need, they end up like, oh my God, this is all gonna die tomorrow. And they like put that panic button, you know what I mean? So when in reality, people are still learning French in high school, people are still learning French in college, you can learn it if you really want to learn.
So what they do instead is they add laws where it's illegal to say hello. You have to say bonjour. Even if my hood's
hold on, but wait.
I mean, if you're in a store, so it's like, literally they passed a law recently where medical assistance has to be offered in French. Just no English anymore. Fuck that. If you're English, you come to Montreal and you have to go to a hospital, they have the right to not speak English to you. Why? It's Montreal. Why? Explain, please. My parents aren't that great in French, yo. I might be good they're not. A ton of people, and keep in mind, like, my parents didn't grow up in the world I did. Like, it wasn't like they grew up where French had to be a thing. Montreal used to be kind of English and shit. So by the time my parents are full adults in the 90s, when I'm in school, it kind of drastic shifts into like super French. So fine, I adapt, but like, yo, that older generation stood no fucking chance, and so they're all fucking like not doing well today, as the whole country has this cultural shift. Yo, and then Quebec goes around the world and attracts a bunch of immigrants with these sexy fucking pictures about Quebec and life is good and we'll respect your religious freedoms and shit. Then they all come here, government flips up, and then they pass laws banning religious symbols in like government jobs. So let's say you want to be a teacher now, you can't wear a burqa type thing. It's a big debate. Like, I'm like, yo. Anyway, this is where I live. They debate whether or not rivers can have the N-word as a title. That's a real debate.
Listen, feel free to come to New York. You know, it's just like over here, it's not that much better.
Nah, Holden's. I could tell Holden.
They're not gonna try to make you talk French or nothing.
We're like, I plan
Matter
on
of fact,
like.
You may come to New York and learn Spanglish, and that's a whole language in itself.
Montreal, I feel like.
Nah, Montreal's my home. Like, as much as I can identify the problems, I'm also here to like. What am I gonna do? Be another guy from Montreal that disdains this shit and runs? That's not helpful. So I would love to visit New York do what I can and learn and spend time there. But end of the day, I have all my frustrations. I only even brought it up because you asked, and I was like, fuck it, we can talk about Quebec politics. Let's do it. But like,
well, I'm glad you answered the question. It was interesting because I didn't know it was that deep out there. So I'm glad you definitely.
Like they literally go into
answer.
English business owners. So let's say you opened the restaurant right now, and you had a sign, and that sign was just like a newspaper clipping from your childhood. If there is not French translations of it in twice the size of every word, you're gonna get a fine. And so that's what they do is they have undercover language police motherfuckers that like literally go and find businesses like that. And you obviously add the racism factor for the black community, and it gets exponentially worse and shit. Anyway,
wow, that's a clusterfuck.
Yo, it's like this is, and the thing is, I wish I was being hyperbolic. Like I wish this was
You're
a
not.
joke.
You're being.
This is like I get like
The language
fact is
real, huh?
so fact is like you come through, and if your company is above the size of 25 employees, even if you're international, all internal communications have to be in French, even if nobody speaks French.
Crazy.
And then so what could happen is somebody comes in and they're like the one French guy and they feel offended, so they snitch to the government, and now your business is getting clipped. This is real shit.
Wow.
Anyway. Let's
and
just
people
say,
think we got it bad.
No, you guys do have very, like, I would argue we have a very, like, this kind of issue, but, like, when it comes to deaths and stuff, it's very different. You guys have a more scarier, like, I wouldn't trade for the world. I'm not brave enough
I
to
got
handle
you.
it.
Yeah, you rather have the language barrier issue than just, you know what I mean?
Because you check it, at any time you can just learn to speak French. And then everyone's like, oh, I appreciate the effort. Plus, the kids is all bilingual. Everybody that's 20 speaks both languages. Are you kidding? They grew up on fucking YouTube, of course.
You said that fun.
What is
it? Bilingual.
Is it bilingual? How do you... I don't know, maybe.
Nah, it's all right. Come on, bro. You say words the way you say them. I say words funny to you.
Yeah, that's fair. Ontario people say words funny to me. New York does not. We're a lot closer to New York than Ontario. That's what I kind of realized, because y'all don't actually say words not funny to me. In fact, it's easier for me to listen to a New Yorker and make out what you say than it is for like a bagel or whatever. I don't know what the fuck they say over there.
Bagel.
Yeah, that's how you say it. That's the right way to say it.
Great.
I don't know if that's the right way of saying it.
No,
that's just
right.
I
know we're saying it like that's a bagel.
It's a bagel.
Yeah,
that's the only way.
I know.
But if you look at it, like, I get what you're saying when you look at the word BA. It's like, oh wait, yeah, well, you're kind of right too. There's kind of like no really.
I love, like just hearing the way other people say things, because it's just a different, like it's like when you go down south, like, yo, it sounds like initially it was rough for me to understand the English accent, but the more that I sat with it and watched more English movies, the easier it became to understand,
Aluminium, that's another one. How British people go aluminium versus aluminum.
Yeah.
I can't even say aluminum. How about that one? I got hiccups now.
No, fair enough. Honestly, though, I appreciate you coming through. I appreciate you. And
man, this was great.
Like, you're a wonderful person.
I appreciate. Oh, I got the hiccups now. Excuse me, guys. I'm sorry.
No,
Thank you. I appreciate you letting me, my hair wasn't loose, but letting my hair loose. That was great. Mother's Day nice, Now I could go probably, I already ordered a great feast for the old lady, so I'm going to definitely get up with the familia later and see what's up.
Are you coming out?
Yeah, we can do that. Let's do that.
Come in.
Because, everybody abandoned me. My son is over in South Carolina and in the pool chilling and great weather. I guess I'll go and look the other side of the family. Oh my God, how did I get hiccups, guys?
I don't know, but sometimes in life, natural body functions occur, and we stigmatize
the fact that you can answer, and I'm, you know what, home?
You know what?
You are great for that.
I have to like
I just want you
pee
to know.
sometimes, and it's so awkward the first time you're live, and you're like, "Yo, like my bladder's can betray me. I'm not gonna care. I have to go pee. Like
Yo,
I'm done."
I gotta pee too.
And
Like,
that's kind
yeah,
of what
let's
happens.
Me
go.
too.
Anyway,
Go pee.
so just to like wrap up for
Let's
this,
all go pee.
let's just
No,
wrap
no,
up right
no,
quick if we can.
We're gonna see each other in a second.
Yeah.
On people,
Right.
make sure feel free. Hey, put the it's Littyyy Bro Twitch in there.
Yo,
you know, feel free to stop by our Littyyy Bro Twitch later.
I would definitely
Sarah
put that
will
in. But we
be
gotta
on
shout
our
out.
show on there that I do.
You can
on my
follow me
own.
on Instagram, SARA_KANA
All of your
on
links
Instagram,
have been
and
coming through the chat the whole time on the live, and they're gonna
Yeah.
be
All
linked below in
right.
the future. But just so we can
I have
wrap
my
up,
own website too.
it's linked.
SaraKana.com. There you go. All right, there we go.
Also, just wanted to say thank y'all to the people watching. Y'all are amazing. Thank y'all to End of the Week, who has allowed us to be even on this journey. So make sure y'all follow End of the Week at /EOW.
Rest in peace, vice versa.
So make sure to follow them all at /EOWTV on all platforms and give them the love that they deserve and all that. Make sure, like we said, check out the Littyyy Bros channel after that. They're going to go live and it's going to be dope. If you like me and you stuck at home or curfew coming, it's a good way to like feel like you're not at home and locked up in life. But yo, just special thanks to all y'all watching in the future as well. Honestly, without y'all, it's not a show. So I just always feel like it's most important to give love to the people that to like kind of watch it, like, subscribe, follow, all that good shit. But again, Sara Kana, you're a wonderful person who deserves all the flowers of anyone else that has been here thing, but really you're like extra wonderful. Honestly, it's honestly your contributions are like huge. You have impacted, like, even my girlfriend was a little more invested in your battles than say all the guys.
Yeah.
Dope. That's dope.
Absolutely.
That's dope. I'm happy about that. Send it love, man.
I don't want it to like go like not like said. So like for like on camera purposes, right? Like, no, like this is different for me because like you're my sister, okay? Who's like looked out for me in all my like paths and this shit for years. It's different than everybody else's interview. You know what I mean?
You're right.
I love you immensely with all my heart.
I love you too.
You know, I've put it on record, you know, and now it's lasting an interview forever online. You know what I mean? Like, let it forever be cemented. You know?
He's like, it's online, so like if I talk shit, you can refer to this shit now. Like, what happened here?
Yeah, also
where was all this?
You know what I mean?
That just disappeared, huh? It's just gone.
No, but for real though, like, I think it's super important because people sometimes don't know how amazing they are, and I just think it needs to be said that you are that amazing. Like, it's, to me, it's not like
you gotta make
tears of shit. There's not like a poison pen and others. Nah, you're like, what's the difference to me? Your story's just as incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you, baby. To me. Thank you.
Big facts.
On that
Big
note,
thank you, and I appreciate you too, Dutch.
I love you. So,
I love you more, man.
So I know everyone's got to go, and everyone wants to go pee. So
yes, we all have to go
long
pee.
and
So
prosper,
like, clap
everyone.
on, clap
Thank
off.
you, everybody, for being here.
Oh, you are the best. Love you to death.